The Family That Lived. Chapter 1, The War is Over. Saturday, the 31st of October, 1981. Godric's Hollow. James. Lily, yelled Sirius, entering what was left of the house. The living room looked like a disaster area. Sirius saw James on the ground and thought the worst, but then he moved. Sirius, find Lily and Harry, said James. Sirius looked around the ground floor and finally heard crying when he got to the staircase. He ran up and to the nursery where the ceiling was blown out. Harry was in his crib and Lily was on the ground. This time he checked her with his wand before jumping to the conclusion she was dead and found that she was just unconscious. He had just found Voldemort when Dumbledore and James came in. Dumbledore started scanning Harry with his wand. "Is Lily okay?" asked James. "She's just unconscious," said Sirius. At that moment Lily woke up and looked around. "James, Sirius, it worked," said Lily. "What did you do, Lily?" asked Dumbledore, handing her Harry. She told them how she'd been working on a way to block the killing curse and how she had carved the rune in Harry's forehead before Voldemort came in and knocked her out. She explained how if it worked the curse would rebound and hit the caster instead. "A simple rune couldn't protect him from the killing curse," said Dumbledore. "The rune was powered by my love and sacrifice. It was my intent to die when I stood in front of Voldemort tonight. That intent and my love powered the rune which enabled it to stop his killing curse. As Voldemort is dead, you can see that it worked, Professor," said Lily. "Alas, it is only temporary," said Dumbledore. "What do you mean?" asked Sirius. "When I scanned Harry earlier I detected a small soul piece embedded in his scar," said Dumbledore. "A Horcrux. He made Harry into a Horcrux?" asked Sirius. "Unintentionally it looks like," said Dumbledore. "Can you remove it?" asked James. "I'll have to research it to find a way that'll not harm Harry, but I think Voldemort would have created more," said Dumbledore. "How many do you think he made?" asked Sirius. "I don't know. Harry wasn't intentional, and for that to happen he would have had to break his soul several times. I'll research more and we'll find out how to rid ourselves of Voldemort for good," said Dumbledore. Dumbledore went back to Hogwarts and Sirius watched Harry while Lily and James packed up what they could salvage from Potter Cottage. They would be moving into Potter Manor. Tomorrow they would have to be prepared for all the reporters who would want to question and take pictures of the family that lived. Chapter 2, War Heroes, Betrayers and Memories. Several things took place in the week following the death of Lord Voldemort. Sunday, the 1st of November, 1981. While Lily took Harry and got settled into Potter Manor, James and Sirius contacted Remus and started tracking down Peter. They cornered him in a Muggle village where he attacked them and in an attempt to escape blew up a gas main, killing 12 Muggles. James, Sirius and Remus were able to shield themselves in time and stun Peter before he could change into his rat form and disappear. Before handing him over they got a written and signed confession from him with the names of several other Death Eaters and the information that one had to willingly take the Dark Mark. This would help with the conviction of several Death Eaters who would try to claim they were Imperious to serve Lord Voldemort. Unfortunately, Lucius Malfoy was able to bribe his way into a lesser sentence and would be out of Azkaban in time to see his son, Draco, off to his first year of Hogwarts. Monday, the 2nd of November, 1981. When they should have still been out there catching more of the Death Eaters, James and Sirius along with Lily were called into a meeting with Minister Bagnold and Dumbledore. "This is ridiculous. You want to keep it from the public that Voldemort is still out there?" asked James. "While I disagree with some of the minister's reasoning, I do agree that keeping the public in a panicked state is detrimental to our recovery," said Dumbledore. "What good is recovering when he can just come back and tear it all down?" asked Lily. "I will not keep our country on a war footing. This war has gone on long enough," yelled Bagnold. "The war would have ended a lot sooner had you allowed Usurers to use lethal spells against the Death Eaters, but no, we can't risk ending the pureblood families that are lining your pockets," yelled James. "You better remember who you are talking to, Harry Potter. The decision on this is final. As soon as the Auror teams finish gathering the rest of the Death Eaters we will begin rebuilding our society. There will be no mention of Lord Voldemort continuing to exist, and any mention of this will be an act of treason. Tomorrow you and your wife will be with me at a press conference announcing the official end of the war, where the two of you will be awarded the Order of Merlin, First Class. Is everything I have said understood?" asked Bagnold. James took a step toward and raised his hand toward Bagnold. James, no. Harry needs you. I need you, said Lily. I'm not going to hit her, Lily said, James continuing to step towards Bagnold. Since I'm still an ERA and employee of this ministry, I'll follow what you've said. I had hoped to never do this, but you should know who you are talking to, Minister. James made the ring on his finger appear. I never wanted to have the responsibility that came with this ring, but I took it on yesterday and am now Lord Potter. Immediately after the press conference tomorrow I am resigning my position as an ERA. Don't worry, Minister, my allies and I won't do anything treasonous, but know that with the power block I now control in the Wizengamot that your days in this office are numbered, said James. Tuesday, the 3rd of November, 1981. My fellow witches and wizards, I am honored to stand before you today and announce that the Dark Lord Voldemort is dead. I'm sure you've all heard the rumors about the attack on Halloween, and here with me are Lord James and Lady Lily Potter, the defeaters of Lord Voldemort. It is my pleasure to award them both with the Ministry's highest honor, the Order of Merlin, First Class. Moving forward, I'd like to lay out some of my plans for the recovery of, said Bagnold before being interrupted by a patroness in the shape of a grizzly bear coming in. We're under attack. Help us please. They're almost through our wards and we can't escape. That's Frank Longbottom's patroness. Let's go, yelled James. James, Sirius and Remus along with several of the ERAs who were in attendance rushed out of the ministry and apparated to just outside of Longbottom Manor. The wards were already down, and when they got inside they saw Bellatrix Lestrange torturing Frank and Alice while Rodolphus and Robaston Lestrange were tearing apart the manor searching for something. They thought they saw another, but he took off running as soon as Rodolphus was taken out and wasn't identified. As she was focusing on cursing Frank and Alice, Bellatrix was quickly stunned. Since they got there as quickly as they did, Frank and Alice would recover and Neville was found in the house elves' quarters aside from the kitchen. Monday, the 9th of November, 1981. The following week it was decided that the bulk of the Death Eaters had all been captured and the ERAs were ordered to stand down as the rest had left the country and would probably never be seen again. After helping to save Frank and Alice Longbottom, James made good on what he said and resigned from the ERAs. Sirius did as well. The trials for the Death Eaters were going quickly, with several of them being sentenced at the same time. Some were able to avoid Azkaban by giving names of other Death Eaters. Bartemius Crouch sentenced his own son to life in Azkaban when Igor Karkaroff named him as a Death Eater. He then resigned his position as head of the DMLE out of embarrassment. Monday, the 31st of July, 1989. Over the next 8 years things calmed down dramatically both at the Ministry and for magical Britain as a whole. While James had kept his promise and didn't publicly announce the fact that Voldemort was still out there, he also kept his promise about Bagnold's job. When elections came up last year she did not win re-election and an ambitious man by the name of Fudge was brought in. James didn't have any opinion of the man and was waiting to see what kind of minister he'd be. While the Wizengamot kept him busy sometimes, James was glad that he'd quit the ERAs as it gave him more time to spend with Lily and Harry. 3 years ago they decided to try and have another child, and on the 6th of May, 1983 they welcomed their daughter Iris Caroline Potter into the world. The middle name Caroline was from her grandmother, who was one of the few Evans females to not have a flower name. After Iris, Lily told James that she was done having children, but one wild night on New Year's Eve 1984 they both forgot the potion, and so on the 28th of August 1985 they welcomed their second daughter Ividoria Potter into their family. Lily told James that if there were any more accidents that she'd curse his bits off where they couldn't be grown back. Remus hit some hard times with a lot of anti-werewolf legislation that came through after the war was over. James tried to block them, but public opinion swayed a lot of votes and he was unsuccessful more than not. He made Remus agree to move in with them, and Sirius and him continued to keep him company during the full moon, helped by Lily's invention of the Wolfsbane potion in 1982. Sirius however did something that James and Remus never thought he'd do. He grew up. After quitting the ERAs he followed James' lead and claimed his lordship of House Black. He pursued his ex-partner Amelia Bones, who was made head of the DMLE since he and James resigned, along with Alastair Moody demoting himself to a reserve position. They married in June of 1982 and aside from his adopted daughter, Susan, they had their first child, a girl they named Jamie Lily Black, on the 18th of August 1982. Sirius would get his heir on the 27th of August, 1985 thanks to the same New Year's Eve party in 1984. They named him Carlisle Edward Black. Every now and then when Sirius was over he'd try to convince James that they needed to merge their families officially and have him sign Harry and Jamie in a marriage contract. That always ended up with him turning into Padfoot and dodging curses that Lily shot at him. Dumbledore visited them often and updated them regularly on his search for a way to remove the Horcrux from Harry. In addition to Harry's birthday, that is why he was here today. "Grandpa Dumbledore," yelled Harry as he ran to hug Dumbledore as he stepped out of the flue. Iris followed afterward with Ivy behind her wanting to be picked up. "Harry, Iris, Ivy. It's not been that long since you've seen him last." "Let the man sit down," laughed James. "Unfortunately I cannot stay long. I just wanted to come here and give young Harry his present, and I have some information for you," said Dumbledore. Topsy called James and one of their house elves popped in. "Will you please take the kids up to the nursery and keep an eye on them?" "Of course, Master Prongs," said Topsy. James hadn't been able to get the elves to stop calling him Master, but was able to convince them to use his marauder name. After the kids were gone, Lily asked, "You found something?" "As you know, I've had everyone I could looking for a solution, from the Department of Mysteries to several magical species like the dwarfs and the goblins. I'm sorry to say that there is no way to remove the Horcrux from a living being without killing the host." Lily started crying. "I'm sorry, Lily, but the goblins have a solution that you might consider. While they can't remove the Horcrux, they have a ritual that can merge the soul piece with Harry's soul and in essence turn it into a new soul. The new soul would no longer be an anchor for Voldemort, as it won't be his soul anymore. Unfortunately, Harry's soul wouldn't be the same anymore, and at a metaphysical level he wouldn't be Harry anymore. Another side effect of this ritual is that all the memories that Voldemort had up until his death would be absorbed into Harry. Now this might be beneficial." "No, absolutely not, Dumbledore. Even with it being a new soul, it would still have been created from that evil monster. On top of that, with his memories, wouldn't we just be creating another Dark Lord?" asked James. "I don't think we would be, James. You and Lily show Harry all the love, caring and kindness he could ever need. And when I say this soul would be new, I mean absolutely new. It wouldn't have evilness from the soul piece that was a part of creating it. And I know it's disturbing that Harry would have the memories of Voldemort, but understand that this would also give him knowledge of all the obscure branches of magic that Voldemort discovered and learned over the last 36 years since he graduated from Hogwarts. We would also learn the whereabouts of his other Horcruxes," said Dumbledore. "I can see the benefits, Dumbledore, but Harry wouldn't be Harry anymore, and it seems like too high a price." "We'll talk it over and give you our answer as soon as we can," said James. Dumbledore said his goodbyes and flew back to Hogwarts. Lily was pacing back and forth, still crying. James had gotten better with not being a prat, but he still had trouble with dealing with his wife when she was this upset. "Lils," started James. "No," said Lily. "Lily." James started again. "I said no, James," yelled Lily. "We have to talk." James tried. "There is nothing to talk about. I will not allow our son to die. And that's what our choice means, James. So there's no choice, no discussion on the pros and cons of the ritual, we have to do this." "We are going to do this," said Lily firmly. James was still worried about turning Harry into a new evil Dark Lord, but he didn't want to see his son die either. It was still a gamble though, but what kind of marauder would he be if he didn't play against the odds? He knew he was absolutely okay with betting on Lily though. "Okay, Lily love. Let's get the kids back down and get ready for Harry's party. Everyone will be here soon and we need to have some happiness now. We'll contact Dumbledore tomorrow and set up an appointment with the goblins to have the ritual done," said James. Lily kissed James and cleaned up her face from the tears. This will work, she thought. We will save our baby boy. Chapter 3, The Ritual and Nightmares. Tuesday, the 1st of August, 1989. The next day James, Lily, Remus, Sirius and Harry visited Gringotts. Amelia agreed to take the day off to watch the other children. "State your business, wizard," said the teller. "We have an appointment with Ragnarok," said James. "Very well, Griffook will take you to his office," said the teller as said goblin appeared behind them. "This way," said Griffook. The group followed Grifuk down a passageway past several doors and finally stopped at a huge door where Grifuk knocked 3 times, at which the door opened on its own. They followed him into the room. Ragnarok, on seeing them, got to business. "You may leave, Grifuk. If you'll follow me, the ritual chamber is ready." "We have some questions," said Lily. "As a rule we prefer to stay out of wizarding affairs that don't pertain to this bank, but Albus Dumbledore long ago earned our trust and respect, so I granted his request when we were asked to find a solution, and I am doing so again by allowing this ritual. Aside from that, I don't see the need to answer your emotional questions to help you make this decision. All I am honor bound to do is perform the ritual and the inheritance test that were requested by Dumbledore, and then our business will be finished." "Why do we need an inheritance test?" asked Remus. Ragnarok said something in the goblin language that sounded like a swear. "While this ritual normally only changes the soul and not the body, there is a chance that magic will see the change in a way that makes him no longer the heir of your family. If this happens, there's no way to change it, but out of courtesy we do this so you will be aware. Now can we get on with this?" Ragnarok asked, then without waiting for an answer started walking toward a door that led down another long passage where they entered a room with a stone table in the center. There was a runic circle around the table and several runes painted along the floor, walls and ceiling. "Place the boy on the table and give him this potion. It will put him to sleep," said Ragnarok. Lily and James kneeled down and hugged and kissed Harry. They had told him an abbreviated version of what was going on, but he didn't understand it all except that it was important that they do this, but he was still frightened. "It'll be okay, Harry. We love you and we'll be here when this is all over," said Lily. They took Harry and placed him on the table and gave him the potion, which put him immediately to sleep. As they stepped back, 3 other goblins came into the room and removed his clothes and started drawing runes on him. "Once the ritual is started, I warn you that if any of you breaks the circle and interrupts the ritual, the likely outcome will be your son's death," said Ragnarok. The 3 goblins finished drawing the runes. 2 of them went to either side of the table and placed their hands on Harry's legs. 2 more goblins came in and placed their hands on both of his arms. The 3rd of the original goblins pulled a dagger out and sliced a deep cut in his forehead where the lightning bolt scar was, then walked over and stabbed the dagger into Harry's heart. When this happened, Lily moved forward and had to be restrained by the 3 marauders. The goblin then walked to the front of the table and placed his hands on Harry's head. The goblins started chanting and a visible energy started pulsing through all their hands into his body. After several minutes of this, the runes that were drawn on him started glowing blindingly bright. Harry started shaking under the hands of the goblins and his head jerked back and his mouth opened like he was screaming, but there was no sound. A flash burst out that stopped at the edge of the runic circle, and when the group could see again, they saw a small white orb come out of Harry's mouth and a similar orb come out of his scar. The 2 orbs floated to each other and merged together and changed to a greenish-black color before switching to a bright gold. After another flash, the orb lowered down back into Harry's mouth and his body and head relaxed to where it looked like he was just sleeping peacefully. The goblins stopped chanting and the one who was at his head pulled the knife out of his chest and a small burst flared and the scar on his forehead and chest disappeared. Even the lightning bolt scar was gone. As the goblins took their hands off him and started to leave, Harry's clothes appeared back on him and he awoke after they broke the barrier of the runic circle. Lily ran to him and grabbed him, picking him up into a hug. "Harry, my baby boy. Are you okay?" asked Lily. "My head hurts, Mum," said Harry. "That'll be the new memories from the Dark Lord's soul piece. It'll go away," said Ragnarok. Ragnarok had Harry prick his finger and let 3 drops of blood drip onto a piece of parchment. He then handed the parchment to James. Inheritance test of Harry James Potter. Age, 9. Parents, James and Lily Potter. Godparents, Sirius Black and Alice Longbottom. Titles: Heir of the Ancient and Noble House of Potter. Lord of the Ancient and Noble House of Slytherin. Vaults: Vault 687, 10,000 G. Vault 3, unknown as Vault, has been sealed until activated by the current Lord. James was about to ask a question, but was stopped by Ragnarok saying, "If you have any questions, see your account manager. Our business is finished." He then pressed a jewel on the wall and Grifuk led them to the lobby where they had to ask the teller if account manager Snaggletooth was available. Fortunately he was, and he was more pleasant to deal with as the Potters over the years has made him very wealthy. Lord Potter, while I would prefer if you had made an appointment, it's good to see you. What is it I can do for you today, said Snaggletooth. James handed over the parchment and asked if he could explain how Harry was Lord Slytherin. Snaggletooth pressed one of the jewels on his desk and a folder appeared on his desk. He looked through the papers and found what he was looking for. Ah, yes. Here it is. It says that on the 31st of October of 1981 Harry became Lord Slytherin by right of conquest. There is currently no account manager for the Slytherin account. If I can have 3 drops of the young Lord Slytherin's blood, I can unseal the vault and be assigned as the account manager and run an audit to find out how much is in there, said Snaggletooth. James agreed, and once again Harry had to prick his finger. Thank you, Lord Slytherin. It'll take just a few minutes for the audit if you have the time to wait, said Snaggletooth. Yes, we might as well get it all over with now, said James. After about 5 minutes a parchment appeared in front of Snaggletooth. Well, that is something. While we already knew that because of the fortune that the Potter family has, that young Harry would have not had to work unless he wanted to, with this many generations of his offspring will have that option, said Snaggletooth, handing the parchment to Harry, who immediately handed it to James. Wow, said James, followed by Lily, Remus and Sirius. Wow indeed, Lord Potter, said Snaggletooth. Potter Manor. The visit to Gringotts took the majority of the day. Since James already participated in the Wizengamot, he took the proxy for Slytherin until Harry was old enough to join. By the time everything was settled, it was a very tired group that arrived back home. Sirius flew home and returned with Iris and Ivy, then went back home. The Potters and Remus had a quick dinner and then went to bed. Lily and James were discussing when they should go visit Dumbledore to try and get the memories of where the other Horcruxes were when there was a horrifying scream. They jumped out of bed and ran down the hall, finding Harry drenched in sweat, crying and screaming. Baby, it's okay. Shush, Mummy's here. Nothing's going to hurt you, love. Mummy's here, said Lily as she got in bed with Harry and pulled him into a hug. I don't give a damn how late it is. Get Dumbledore and tell him to bring Madame Pomfrey. James knew not to argue when she used that tone, so hurried out to use the flue. Harry calmed down a bit and tried to start telling her what he saw, but with the images he described of Voldemort torturing and killing, he worked himself up and started crying again and broke down to where he couldn't be understood. Shush, baby. You don't have to say anymore, love. Mummy's here. Just listen to my voice and focus on that. Let those images fall to the back of your mind, said Lily. James then returned with Dumbledore and Madame Pomfrey, and Lily told her that she wanted Harry given a dose of Dreamless Sleep potion. Madame Pomfrey argued about giving that potion to a 9-year-old, but Lily wasn't having it, so she relented. Once Harry was back asleep, the 4 of them went down to the sitting room. We can't keep giving him that potion, said Madame Pomfrey. Calm down, Poppy, we won't have to keep giving Harry the potion, said Dumbledore. Lily tried to object, but he continued. Voldemort knew occlumency, Lily. We simply have to get him to use that knowledge to learn how to build shields that he can put those memories behind. But that'll take months, maybe years to learn. What will we do until then? Asked Lily. You'd be correct, Lily, but you are forgetting one thing, said Dumbledore. What is that? Asked Lily sharply. He already has the knowledge of how to do occlumency, we just have to talk him through it and show him that he does. It'll be like this when he comes to Hogwarts as well. He already has the knowledge of what is going to be taught and he'll learn very quickly because of that. Now don't worry. I'm not saying he could take your wand now and use the killing curse on you, nothing like that. But with the knowledge already there once shown, he'll be able to access the knowledge and perform it as if he had his whole life, said Dumbledore. So, what you're saying is that we start teaching him occlumency in the morning after breakfast and he'll have mastered it by the time he goes to bed tomorrow night? Asked James. I believe so, said Dumbledore. I want a dose of the potion in case you're wrong, said Lily. Madame Pomfrey disagreed, but Dumbledore told her to give it to her. Like James, he'd learned a long time ago to not go against Lily Potter. Chapter 4, Close but So Far Away. Wednesday, the 2nd of August, 1989. Harry woke up the next morning to his mother's emerald eyes looking at him. Mum, why are you in my bed? Asked Harry. Do you remember the nightmares last night? Asked Lily. Harry nodded. I knew the potion should work, but I slept in here in case you needed me, said Lily. We're going to be teaching you a way to keep the bad dreams away today, but first get dressed and come downstairs for breakfast. Harry got up and summoned his clothes to him. Harry, asked Lily. Yes, Mum, asked Harry. How did you do that, asked Lily. I don't know. I just knew I could, said Harry. Okay, I'll see you downstairs, said Lily. Harry left the room and Lily went downstairs. Breakfast was already on the table and James was trying to get Ivy to eat. How's Harry, asked James. He didn't have any more nightmares, but there's something else now, said Lily. What, asked James. He summoned his clothes to him wandlessly, said Lily. Are you sure it wasn't accidental magic, asked James. I'm positive, said Lily. Harry came down and started putting food on his plate. How are you feeling, son, asked James. Good. What are you and Mummy going to teach me today, asked Harry. What we're going to teach you is called occlumency. It's a way to organize your memories and you'll be able to keep the bad memories locked up so you can sleep without having nightmares. It also helps shield your mind so someone can't read your thoughts, said James. I understand, said Harry. Everyone finished up eating their breakfast and after having Topsy take the girls, James and Lily went up to Harry's room with him. Harry, can you show me what you did this morning? Your mum says you summoned your clothes to you, said James. Harry looked around the room and summoned the training broom Sirius had bought him. Amazing, do you realize what this means, Lily, asked James. It means Dumbledore was wrong when he said that Harry wouldn't know how to do spells without learning them himself, said Lily. Yes, but to be able to do magic without a wand at the age of 9. Do you realize the power that Harry has to have for this to even be possible, asked James. I do. We'll have to talk to Dumbledore later to see what his thoughts are about this. For now let's make sure those memories won't give him any more problems, said Lily. The three of them sat down cross-legged on the floor and Lily started explaining what to do to Harry. What you need to do to start is to clear your mind of all thoughts. The best way to do this is to meditate. Close your eyes and breathe slowly in through your mouth and out through your nose. This will calm you and help with clearing your mind, said Lily. Harry closed his eyes and started breathing as she said. Now I want you to feel the magic that flows through your body. Find where that flow starts and follow it to your mind, said Lily. Harry started to feel the magic and follow it, but then a memory of having already learned this came to him and he knew what to do and started building his shields and other defenses. He took the bad memories of killing and torture and locked them up while keeping the knowledge that Voldemort had learned. Have you followed your magic, Harry? Asked Lily. I have, and I've already built my defenses and locked away the bad memories, said Harry. Are you sure, son? We've only been doing this for a few minutes, said James. Go ahead and test me, Dad, said Harry. James performed Legilimency and couldn't get in at all. This is amazing, Lily. I can't get in at all. Harry, can you recall where the Horcruxes are that Voldemort made without bringing up the memories of how he created them? Asked James. Harry thought about them and got a piece of parchment and a quill and wrote down what he'd asked and handed it to his dad. Diary, given to Lucius Malfoy. Ravenclaw's diadem, at Hogwarts in the Room of Requirement. The Room of Hidden Things. Hufflepuff's cup, placed in Bellatrix Lestrange's vault. Voldemort's snake, unknown. Slytherin's ring, at the Gaunt's shack in Little Hangleton. Slytherin's locket. Why is there no location for the locket? Asked James. There's something keeping me from telling you the location, but I know I can take you there, said Harry. I don't like that idea, but I'll take this to Dumbledore and see what he says. He'll want to come and see what you can do anyway, said James. Over the next few weeks the Horcruxes were taken care of as best as they could. Harry was needed not only for the locket, but to show them where the Room of Requirement was. The only two that couldn't be taken care of were Voldemort's familiar Nagini, as they had no idea where it was located, and the diary. They went to Malfoy Manor and questioned Narcissa about it, but she said she knew nothing about it. Professor Dumbledore also came over several times to test Harry and his wandless abilities. Dumbledore was amazed by what Harry could do, but he was also scared. According to everything he knew, what Harry could do shouldn't be possible, and he was worried that there was more of Voldemort left in him than just his memories and knowledge. Wednesday, the 31st of July, 1991. Dumbledore took more time to visit the Potters and talk about the memories that Harry now had and see what was going through the young man's mind. On Harry's 11th birthday, Harry asked him a question. "Professor, I've been looking at some of Voldemort's memories and I don't understand something," said Harry. "We're not at Hogwarts yet, my boy. So I insist that you call me Grandpa." "What is it you don't understand?" asked Dumbledore. "In all these battles with Voldemort and his Death Eaters, the Aurors and the few witches and wizards who fought back, why did no one use lethal spells? Voldemort and the Death Eaters were throwing killing curses and crucios and all any of our side did was stun, disarm or try to incapacitate without permanently harming them," said Harry. "Harry, you have to understand that these were elite families we were facing. The Ministry didn't want to risk ending so many pure bloodlines. As for my personal belief, it's hard to bring someone back to the light when they are dead," said Dumbledore. "Excuse my language, Grandpa, but that is a bunch of bullshit. Granted, I am looking at these events after the fact, but if someone tries to kill me, I'm going to try to take them out first and I won't be using a stunning or disarming spell to do it. And if somehow Voldemort does come back and comes after my family, he'll wish he'd stayed dead," said Harry. Dumbledore could see the fierce determination in Harry's eyes. Harry would protect the ones he loved no matter the consequences, and while it was not how he would do it himself, he could see that Harry would never be a Dark Lord, but he would match whatever was thrown at him with equal intent. Sunday, the 1st of September, 1991. Harry woke up excited. Today he would finally be going to Hogwarts. The last few years had been good overall. They still had no idea how to find Nagini, and when Lucius Malfoy was let out he was questioned about the diary, but he told them that when he was arrested several of his dark artifacts had went missing, so they were at a standstill on getting rid of the Horcruxes. His letter from Hogwarts came the week before his 11th birthday, and after getting his supplies he found that he had no problems using magic with the wand, although the spells were a little more powerful with the wand than when he did them wandlessly. During one of Professor Dumbledore's visits, the worry came up that he would be bored at Hogwarts because there was nothing new he'd learn there, but Harry disagreed that he would be bored because he would finally be around other kids his age and be able to make friends other than Neville, Hannah and Susan, although Hannah was more Susan's and Neville's friend. Harry went down to breakfast with his trunk floating behind him. After leaving the trunk in the sitting room, he went to the dining room and saw that Sirius, Amelia and their kids were there also. "We decided to have a big family breakfast before heading to King's Cross," said James. "Do you have everything packed?" asked Lily. "Yes, Mum," said Harry, taking the only seat available to him. The one by Jamie. After being hexed various times by Lily for suggesting a marriage contract, Sirius started fabricating excuses for Harry and Jamie to be around each other. There was obviously nothing romantic going on between them, but despite the 2 years between them, Jamie became his best friend and he actually liked hanging out with her, especially when they pulled pranks on the Marauders. With breakfast over, the group flew to King's Cross Station and went through the barrier onto platform 9 3/4. Lily, Iris and Ivy were crying and giving Harry hugs and kisses and making him promise to send them letters every day. Once he got free of them, James and Sirius each hugged him. "Remember to not get caught when you prank the school," said Sirius, handing Harry a package, whispering for him to open it when he got to his dorm. "I won't get caught, Padfoot," said Harry. "I'm going to miss you, Harry." "I mean, who's going to help me turn everyone's clothes pink now?" asked Jamie, pulling him into a hug. "I'm going to miss you too, but you'll see me for the holidays and before you know it you'll be here at Hogwarts with me. Also, I'm pretty sure you can convince Carlisle and Iris to help you. Just remember what happened when you took Amelia's wand. She is scary when she's mad," said Harry. With a last goodbye to everyone, Harry got onto the train. Harry and Neville got a compartment together while Hannah and Susan went to find one for themselves. "I can't believe you brought that toad," said Harry. "It was a present from my gran," said Neville. "I'm just remembering all the times you've lost it. If it gets loose in here you're on your own looking for it," said Harry. They both looked up when there was a knock on their compartment. 3 red-headed boys entered. "Hello, I'm Fred Weasley." "And I'm George Weasley. This is our dear brother, Ronald. And while we love him so very much, we feel that we have spent enough time with him and that it was time for him to annoy others. Have fun, said the two of them together before leaving the compartment. Well, sit down, Ronald. I'm Harry Potter and this here is Neville Longbottom. Well. Do you have the scar? Asked Ron. No. That was healed completely 2 years ago. So do you prefer Ronald or can we call you Ron? Asked Harry. I prefer Ron, said Ron. Okay, Ron. I have some exploding snack cards. Would you like to play with me and Neville? Asked Harry. Ron agreed and they spent the train ride playing cards, being interrupted only once when Draco Malfoy came by looking for Harry and insulted Ron and Neville when Harry refused to join him and his friends. The train finally arrived at Hogsmeade Station and the first years took the boats up to the castle with Hagrid, where they met Professor McGonagall, who took them into the Great Hall. Hannah and Susan were both sorted into Hufflepuff while Neville, Harry and Ron were sorted into Gryffindor. After the feast was over they were led to their common room and shown their dorm. Harry got to talk to Dean Thomas and Seamus Finnegan. They seemed like good people and he hoped they along with Ron would be good friends for him. Unknown location. Master, did you feel the power coming off the boy? Yes, you fool. Perhaps I'll have use for him after all. But before we approach him I must have the stone. Of course, Master. I'll start figuring out the other traps immediately. See that you do, Quirrell, do not fail me. Chapter 5, A Bad Day. Monday, the 2nd of September, 1991. Harry woke up early the next morning and after taking care of his bathroom needs he opened his trunk to put his books in his bag for the day and saw the package that Sirius had given him. With talking to his dorm mates last night he'd forgotten it. He opened it up and there was a mirror inside. What was Padfoot playing at? He wasn't some girl that needed to freshen up every 5 minutes. There wasn't a note. Or was there? He grabbed the wrapping and said, I solemnly swear I am up to no good. Hey pup. The mirror in your hand is a communication mirror. Your dad and I first created them so we could talk when we were in separate detentions. I made some new ones and now you can talk to me, your dad and Jamie anytime you want. You just need to call the name of the person you want to talk to. If you need to talk to your mum just ask your dad. I didn't give her a mirror because you know how she is about me dragging you into our marauder foolishness. Call me whenever you like, but I told Jamie to expect your call first. Don't forget to try and find the map. And I want to hear that you pulled your first prank soon. Don't worry about your mum. I'll protect you from her. Have fun. Padfoot. Like he'd even last a minute against Mum, thought Harry before remembering that he was supposed to open this last night. He grabbed hold of the mirror and said, Jamie, and Jamie's face came into the mirror. I waited forever last night. Why didn't you call? Asked Jamie. I'm sorry. I forgot and just found out about the mirror this morning. How late were you up? Asked Harry. I was up past midnight waiting for you. Dad said that you owe me one free prank for making me wait, said Jamie. That's not fair, said Harry. He even said he'd help me make it a good one, said Jamie. That's really not fair. My dorm mates are starting to get up. I'll talk to you tonight, said Harry. You promise? Asked Jamie. I promise, Jamie. I miss you, said Harry. I miss you too. Find some way to turn little Miss Susie's robes all pink. You know how much she hates that color, said Jamie. I will. Bye, said Harry, putting the mirror in one of his robe pockets. Harry headed down to breakfast and got his schedule. It was going to be hard acting like he didn't know the lessons already, but Dumbledore thought it would be best to not let anyone know. Even the other professors. Harry had agreed that he wouldn't show off, but he was still going to ace his tests and would pretend to get the spells wrong a couple times before doing it right. When he finished breakfast he went to Transfiguration and was the first one there. He took a seat at the front of the classroom. Professor McGonagall came in the classroom and walked up to him. Mr. Potter, I've been able to surprise every first-year class for the last 30 years. If you warn anyone of what you know, I swear I'll make sure you are caught doing every prank your father and his mutt want you to do. Do we have an understanding? Asked Professor McGonagall. I don't know how Padfoot would take being called a mutt, but yes, Professor, said Harry. Good, said Professor McGonagall before transforming into a cat and jumping onto the desk. A bushy-haired girl came walking into the classroom and looked offended that she wasn't the first one there. Harry didn't know why, but she looked kind of cute being upset. She sat down at the back of the classroom and looked very uncomfortable, like she'd never been in the back of a classroom ever. "You can come and sit with me. I promise I don't bite," said Harry. She got up and took the seat next to him without saying anything. "I'm Harry Potter," said Harry. Hermione proceeded to just stare ahead as some more students started coming in. "Do you have a name, or do I have to make one up for you?" asked Harry. "My name is Hermione Granger," said Hermione huffily. "Is there a reason why you are being so rude?" asked Harry, starting to get irritated. "I just don't see the point in talking to you," said Hermione. Harry had enough and pulled his wand out and pointed it at Hermione and turned her robes and hair pink. "Mr. Potter," yelled Professor McGonagall after changing back, while the students laughed. "I wonder who had first class in the betting pool back home," said Susan, laughing. "Harry, you really need to come up with a better prank." "Pink isn't very manly," said Hannah, which earned her the same look as Hermione. "He even changed her hair to match, which made the class laugh harder." "Silence," yelled Professor McGonagall. 10 points from Gryffindor. "Mr. Potter, change them back and see me after your last class today." "But, Professor," started Harry. "Now, Mr. Potter," said Professor McGonagall firmly. Harry did as he was told and saw that Hermione had tears running down her cheeks. "Now class, transfiguration is one of the most complex and dangerous types of magic. Anyone caught messing around in this class will be asked to leave and not come back." "Understood?" asked Professor McGonagall, looking at Harry. "Yes, Professor," said the whole class. "Mr. Potter, please hand out these matchsticks," said Professor McGonagall. Harry handed the matchsticks out and sat back down and listened to Professor McGonagall explain how to do the spell to make the matchstick change into the needle. Harry's focus started to go away from what Professor McGonagall was saying to his own thoughts. Why was Hermione so standoffish? He hadn't said anything mean to her. Also, why did he get mad at her dismissal? "Mr. Potter, are you going to make an attempt?" asked Professor McGonagall. "What?" asked Harry distractedly. "Your match, Mr. Potter," said Professor McGonagall. "Oh, yeah," said Harry, waving his hand over it, causing it to immediately change to a needle. "That was amazing, Mr. Potter." 10 points to Gryffindor, said Professor McGonagall. "How did you do that?" asked Hermione. "I don't see the point in telling you," said Harry. Harry didn't think anyone else saw him as they were paying attention to transfiguring their own matchsticks, but it was still a big mistake. He needed to make sure it didn't happen again. Class ended and everyone packed up and headed to Charms. In Charms, Hermione sat next to him again for whatever reason. He made sure to use his wand and the incantation when performing the Lumos charm. History of Magic was the last class before lunch, and he sighed when Hermione took the seat next to him again, but he didn't want to get in any more trouble, so he didn't say anything. He managed to stay awake during the class, but decided that the other students had the right idea and he'd probably take a nap from tomorrow on. Harry started filling his plate right after sitting down at the Gryffindor table. He didn't see who sat next to him, but he knew who it was. "Why do you keep sitting next to me? You were rude, and because of that I am going to probably be in detention till end of third year," said Harry. "Punishments can't transfer from one year to the next. It says so in Hogwarts, a history," said Hermione. "What?" asked Harry, feeling like he was going to have a migraine. "Mr. Potter, I think you should come up to my office," said Dumbledore. Harry looked away from Hermione and noticed that the dishes on the Gryffindor table were shaking. "Of course, sir," said Harry. Harry followed the headmaster to his office. "What's wrong, Harry?" asked Dumbledore. "I don't know, Grandpa. There's something about her that just bugs me," said Harry. "Professor McGonagall told me about your interaction with her in her class." "Were your occlumency shields up at the time?" asked Dumbledore. "Of course. I always have them up," said Harry. "What were you thinking when you first saw her?" asked Dumbledore. Grandpa whined Harry, not wanting to tell him. "This is important, Harry," said Dumbledore. "I thought she looked cute. Especially when she got upset that she wasn't the first one in the classroom. I asked her to sit with me and tried talking to her, but she was rude," said Harry. "And your anger started to build up," said Dumbledore. "It was more like irritation, but yeah," said Harry. I think your initial thoughts about Miss Granger caused you to lower your shields without knowing it, and that allowed your irritation at her rudeness to go unchecked, which then resulted in you reacting like the 11-year-old you are. Might I suggest that for any future pranks that you forego using Jamie's signature spell? It'll make it easier for me to pretend that I don't know it was you. However, I disagree with Miss Abbott. I think pink is very manly, said Dumbledore. Harry told Professor Dumbledore about a prank idea he had. I'll just have to forget that I heard what you just said. Now on to important matters. Professor McGonagall showed me the memory of your class, and you made 2 mistakes that can't really be explained away. You did not vocalize the spells when you changed Miss Granger or Miss Abbott, and you wandlessly transfigured your match. I told Professor McGonagall that it was up to you whether you tell her what's going on or not, said Dumbledore. Do you think I should? Asked Harry. I believe her to be trustworthy. Just be careful not to slip again, said Dumbledore. What about Hermione? She saw me transfigure the match also, and she won't leave me alone, said Harry. You wanted to befriend her at first. Find out why she reacted to you like that and apologize for the prank. When she brings up the transfiguration, tell her it was accidental magic because you were frustrated, said Dumbledore. I'll do that, said Harry. I'm sorry I took you away from your lunch. If you hurry you'll make it to your next class. Make sure you eat a big dinner tonight, said Dumbledore. I will, Grandpa, said Harry before leaving. Harry made it to the Defense Against the Dark Arts classroom just in time and saw that Hermione saved him a seat. He sat down next to her and listened to Professor Quirrell stutter through the explanation about the knockback jinx before having them pair up and practice. When class ended, Harry asked Hermione, if you're going to want to be by me in herbology as well, why don't you walk to class with me? Okay, Harry, said Hermione. Why were you so standoffish with me in transfiguration? Asked Harry. Nobody ever has wanted to have a normal conversation with me, and I thought you would be the same. I didn't see the point in talking to you for you to just end up treating me like everyone else has, said Hermione. You shouldn't just assume that people are going to act away because of how others did, said Harry. You sound like my mother, said Hermione. Just out of curiosity, what name were you going to give me? I don't know. Curly, maybe, said Harry. How original, said Hermione sarcastically. They made it to the greenhouses and waited outside for Professor Sprout. I'm sorry about turning your hair and robes pink, said Harry. It's okay. I was rude to you, but why pink? Asked Hermione. It's my best friend Jamie's favorite way to get back at someone who makes her mad. It's mostly her stepsister Susan who is her victim, and Susan hates the color pink. In fact, I'm supposed to make all of Susan's robes pink for Jamie soon, said Harry. Will you tell me how you transfigured the match? Asked Hermione. Harry looked into Hermione's eyes and felt like he couldn't lie to her, so he decided to tell her the truth without revealing that he had Voldemort's memories. I'll tell you after my meeting with Professor McGonagall, but it'll have to be in private, said Harry. The only good thing about herbology is that they didn't have to touch any of the plants on the first day. After listening to Professor Sprout talk about dirt, Harry and Hermione went to potions class. Harry knew that Professor Snape wouldn't like him based on what his dad, Padfoot, and Moony told him. All 3 of them were wrong. Professor Snape hated him. Harry lost points for not paying attention when he was taking notes. Then he had to answer questions that were above first-year knowledge. He then lost points when Neville melted his cauldron. Overall, his first day at Hogwarts wasn't good. Harry told Professor McGonagall everything, and she promised that she'd keep his secret and that if he needed anyone to talk to, that he could always come to her. When he left her office, Hermione was waiting for him. He explained that he had been able to do wandless magic since he was 9. Hermione asked if he could teach her, and he said that he might be able to teach her some spells, but that he really didn't know how he could do wandless magic. After having a big dinner like he promised Dumbledore, Harry went to his dorm and got dressed in his pajamas, laid down and closed the curtains around his bed. Holding the mirror, he called, "Jamie. How was your first day of classes?" asked Jamie. "I really wish you had been here with me today," said Harry. "What happened?" asked Jamie. Harry told her everything that happened. "At least I think Hermione's going to be a good friend," said Harry. "Is she prettier than me?" asked Jamie. "Nobody's prettier than you, Jamie," said Harry. "Ah. You know exactly what I want to hear," Harry said. Jamie. I'm getting tired, Jamie. I'll talk to you tomorrow, said Harry. Good night, Harry, said Jamie. Good night, Jamie, said Harry. Chapter 6, Occlumency, Birthday and Quidditch. Friday, the 6th of September, 1991. The rest of the week was better than the first day. Harry continued to sit with Hermione for every class and would hang out with Neville and Ron in the evenings before heading to bed and talking to Jamie. With the knowledge that Harry had, classes would have been very boring without Hermione. Once the theory part of the class was over and they were supposed to be working on actually casting spells, Hermione would bombard him with questions about wandless magic. He was glad that tomorrow would be the weekend and he could get a break from the questions. He was going to spend some time with Neville and Ron, and Hermione didn't hang out with them because of how Ron acted towards her. Do you think we can find a place for you to try and teach me some wandless magic tomorrow? We can use one of the unused classrooms, said Hermione when they were walking to the Quidditch pitch for their first flying lesson. I know a better place we can use. I'll show it to you tomorrow, said Harry. Harry and Hermione lined up alongside one of the schoolrooms with the rest of the first years. Harry noticed Hermione looked very nervous. Hermione, what's wrong? Asked Harry. Nothing, said Hermione looking at the broom. It's going to be okay, Hermione. Flying is fun, said Harry. You've done it before? Asked Hermione. My dad taught me and took me flying a few times when my mum was busy. She wouldn't have liked it. Neville came with us a couple times. His gran didn't want him on a broom either, said Harry. What if I fall? Asked Hermione. I promise I'll catch you, said Harry. Madam Hooch walked past them and told them to hold their hand over their broom and call up. Harry's broom immediately came up, but Hermione's rolled around on the ground. Hermione, you have to mean it. Call it like you want it in your hand, said Harry. Hermione tried again and this time the broom came up. She looked up to smile at Harry and started laughing when she saw Ron's broom smack him in the face. Well, that helps with the nerves, said Hermione, still laughing. I wish the two of you could get along, said Harry. Tell him that, said Hermione. I have, said Harry. Eventually everyone who couldn't get their broom to come to them were told to just pick them up. Madam Hooch told them to mount their brooms and to hover for a few minutes, then land. She blew her whistle and everyone kicked themselves up and hovered. Harry could see that Hermione's nerves had returned since she was shaking on her broom. You're doing really good, Hermione. Lean forward and land, said Harry. Hermione did as he said, but the opposite happened and she started to go higher and the broom started to jerk around. Harry! Something's wrong, yelled Hermione. Harry got on his broom ignoring Madam Hooch and flew up to Hermione to try and get her off the broom, but every time he got close her broom would switch direction and go higher. Harry got as close as he could. Hermione, I need you to jump, yelled Harry. Are you crazy? Asked Hermione. Trust me, Hermione. I'll catch you. On 3. 1. 2. Yelled Harry. On 2 the broom jerked, causing Hermione to be thrown off. Harry waved his hand and slowed her fall, but not quite enough, and when she hit him he caught her but fell off his broom. Instead of falling to the ground, Harry stayed in the air and floated them down to the ground. Madam Hooch got to them first and rushed them to the hospital wing. Harry tried to say that he was fine, but Madame Pomfrey made him get into a bed anyways. Hermione needed a calming draft, but otherwise was okay. Madame Pomfrey told them to rest and that she'd let them go before dinner. After she went back to her office, Hermione got out of her bed and went over to Harry's bed. You better be careful, Hermione. Madame Pomfrey seems scary and you're not following her orders, said Harry, laughing. You saved my life, Harry. I don't know how. I thought we were done after you fell off your broom catching me, but somehow. Thank you, said Hermione, pulling Harry into a hug. I told you I would catch you, Hermione. And I always will, said Harry. That's good to hear, Mr. Potter, but if Miss Granger doesn't get back in bed I'm going to keep her here till tomorrow, said Madame Pomfrey, to which Hermione quickly went back to her bed. Saturday, the 7th of September, 1991. It had been a long first week, so Harry was looking forward to sleeping in this morning. He'd called Jamie on the mirror last night and was up late since while she was happy that Hermione was okay, she said that he better not ever do anything like that again. Harry's answer that he'd do the same for her helped calm her a bit, but not fully. So with going to bed late he was a little frustrated when he was shook awake. "Harry," said Hermione. "Hermione. What are you doing up here?" asked Harry groggily. "I was waiting for you to come down." "We're going to miss breakfast if you don't hurry," said Hermione. "Okay. I'll be down in a minute," said Harry. Hermione left and Harry got dressed and did a wandless cleaning charm so he'd get by without a shower this morning. As soon as he got downstairs to Hermione the questions started. "Are you going to show me where we're going to practice right after breakfast?" asked Hermione. "Yes, Hermione. I hope you remember that it's not a guarantee that I'll be able to teach you," said Harry. "I know, Harry. And I know that you said that you don't really know how you are able to do wandless magic," said Hermione. "There is something I can start teaching you that I know you will be able to learn if you want," said Harry. "What?" asked Hermione. "Occlumency," said Harry. Harry explained what occlumency was while they ate. As soon as they were done he took her to the 7th floor and started pacing back and forth in front of a blank wall. Hermione was about to ask what he was doing when a door appeared on the wall. "This is the room of requirement. It can become anything you need it to be. For today I asked for a room that could be used to meditate and learn occlumency. We're going to start with meditating and having you connect with your magical core," said Harry. Thursday, the 19th of September, 1991. It had been almost 2 weeks since Harry started teaching Hermione occlumency. She got the part about organizing her memories down really quick and Harry would start her on building defenses soon to keep people out. They were eating breakfast when an owl with a package stopped in front of Hermione. She took the card off the package and read it, then went back to her breakfast. "Aren't you going to open it, Hermione?" asked Harry. "I'll open it when I get back to the common room," said Hermione. "Come on, Hermione. I want to see what you got," said Harry, grabbing the package. Hermione tried to stop him, but he opened it and turned red at seeing what was inside. Harry closed the box and Hermione took it and ran out of the great hall. He saw that the card had fallen and even though he knew that he shouldn't, he read it. "Dear Hermione. Happy birthday. I wish we were there to celebrate your big day, baby girl. In the package are the bras you asked for. I hope they fit better for you. When you come for the holidays we'll go to the store and have you properly measured. We'll also go to that bookstore in Diagon Alley and let you have your pick for a late birthday present. I hope your classes are going well and that you're making new friends also. Write me back whenever you can. Your dad sends his love. Love. Mom." When Harry got to Transfiguration class he gave Hermione the card and tried to apologize, but she wouldn't talk to him. This continued through the rest of the day. When they went back to Gryffindor Tower Harry went up to his dorm and got out the mirror and called Jamie. "Jamie," called Harry. "What did I do to deserve an early call from you, Harry?" asked Jamie. "I need your help. I saw something of Hermione's that I wasn't supposed to. She's so mad at me. And it's her birthday. I didn't get her anything. I didn't know it was her birthday." "Why didn't she tell me?" asked Harry. "Slow down, Harry. First, from what you've told me she hasn't had many friends, so maybe she didn't think about telling you. Make her a card and that'll make her happy." "What did you see of hers that you shouldn't have?" asked Jamie. Harry turned red. "Now I really have to know if it makes you blush like that," said Jamie, giggling. "It's not funny, Jamie. Do you remember what your mum got you for your last birthday?" "For training?" asked Harry. Now it was Jamie's turn to blush. "Okay, tell me exactly what happened," said Jamie. "Hermione got the package and read the card and I wanted to know what she got, so I took the package and opened it." "I wasn't expecting that," said Harry. "Well, it serves you right. Next time you'll know better than to open things that aren't yours. She's probably not really mad at you, but embarrassed." "You need to apologize," said Jamie. "I tried. She won't talk to me," said Harry. "Make her the birthday card and give it to her and try again," said Jamie. "Come on, Jamie. You have to have better advice than that," said Harry. "Nope, you're on your own, Harry. Bye," said Jamie, giggling as the mirror cut off. Harry made the card and went down to the common room and saw that Hermione was sitting in front of the fire. He went over to the couch and sat down beside her and handed her the card. "Happy birthday, Hermione. I wish I had something better, but I didn't know, said Harry. Hermione looked at the card, then gave Harry a hug. Thank you. I'm sorry I haven't talked to you all day, said Hermione. Hermione, I'm the one who's sorry. I shouldn't have opened your package and seen. Started Harry. Shush, don't talk about it here, Harry. It's okay. I was just embarrassed, said Hermione. Yeah, Jamie said that you were probably embarrassed and not really mad at me, said Harry. You told Jamie? Asked Hermione. Well, she's a girl and I didn't know what to do. If it makes you feel better, she just got her first training bras for her birthday last August, said Harry. Hermione just looked at Harry like he'd grown a third eye. Come with me, Harry, said Hermione, taking his hand and pulling him off the couch and out of the common room. Harry tried to talk, but Hermione didn't say anything till they got to the room of requirement. Once they were in the room that Hermione created, she let him go and sat down on the couch in the empty replica of the Gryffindor common room. Harry sat down with her. Harry, why would that make me feel better? You just told me something about your best friend that would be embarrassing to her. You told me she's 9, right? Asked Hermione. Yeah, said Harry. Hermione took a few breaths before replying. Harry, what you just told me and what you know about me now is something very personal to a girl. Jamie is your best friend and you don't know what she's going through if you thought that giving out that information was okay, said Hermione. But it happens to all girls. How is it personal? Asked Harry. I didn't get my first training bra until 2 months before my 11th birthday. I didn't need one till then, but now I'm starting to grow more. My mom said I was a late starter, but if I'm anything like her I'll start growing fast. That's why I needed new ones, and even with those they might not fit properly. Jamie is starting very early, so you see that it's different for everyone and personal. Still, she wouldn't have wanted me to know. Anyone for that matter. You're going to have to tell her and apologize, Harry, said Hermione. You could just forget that I told you, said Harry. No, I couldn't, said Hermione. Harry got up and started to leave, then turned back to Hermione. If you don't see me tomorrow you'll know who did it, said Harry. Saturday, the 5th of October, 1991. Jamie didn't come to Hogwarts to kill Harry, but she was upset with him. So upset that she wouldn't answer his mirror calls. Harry was really starting to miss her. Hermione's occlumency lessons were going well and she could actually feel when he used legilimency on her, but she was nowhere near close to being able to keep him out. They'd just returned to the common room and sat down when Oliver Wood stormed through the portrait. Attention! Nobody showed up at our tryouts for Seeker 2 weeks ago, and without one we will lose every game this year. Anyone who wants to try out for Seeker is to be down at the pitch in 10 minutes, said Oliver. A couple people left the common room either to get their broom or to go down to the pitch. Oliver looked at the first years that didn't move. First years are included. Professor McGonagall has given her permission, said Oliver before turning and leaving through the portrait. What do you think? Asked Harry. I'm not planning on getting on a broom again anytime soon, said Hermione. I know that. I mean me, said Harry. After what you've told me about flying with your dad, I think you should go, said Hermione. Will you come watch? Asked Harry. I have Professor Snape's essay to finish, said Hermione. Come on, you've had that essay finished since Wednesday, said Harry. Fine, said Hermione. Harry grabbed Hermione's hand and they ran down to the Quidditch pitch. Hermione wished him luck and went to sit in the stands while he went out onto the pitch. There were only 7 others there. Harry walked up to Seamus and Dean. Why isn't Ron here? Asked Harry. Ron said that he was only good at keeper so he didn't want to try out, said Seamus. What about Neville? Asked Dean. Neville was okay on a broom whenever he flew with me and my dad, but Quidditch was never his thing, said Harry. Okay, everyone. Gather around. I have 3 weeks to fit one of you into our team for our first game, which is against Slytherin. There are 8 of you, so I'm going to send you up in groups of 2. If you catch the snitch you win that round, and then the 4 of you left will be paired against each other. Finally the last 2 will go up again and whoever catches the snitch will be our Seeker, said Oliver. He then paired everyone up and had the first group go. Dean was beaten by a second year, Cormac McLagan, while Seamus was beaten by a third year, Thomas Corgin. A fourth year, Ariel Sampson, was beaten by another fourth year, Jackson Grier. Harry was up against a third year, Caleb Crawford. Oliver waited for them to get into position and released the snitch. After several minutes of looking, Harry realized that Caleb was the kind of seeker that was going to wait for him to find the snitch and then race him for it. His dad had taught him the Runsky feint, but he'd never done it before because his dad said that if he got hurt his mum would kill both of them. Caleb had a better broom than Harry did, so he knew that if it came to a race then he'd lose. Just then Harry saw the snitch hovering around one of the goalposts, so acting like he saw the snitch he shot forward and dived. Caleb fell for it and came right up beside him, and before he realized the snitch was nowhere near, Harry pulled up and Caleb plowed into the ground while Harry flew to where the snitch really was and caught it. Harry landed and saw Oliver arguing with Jackson and Thomas before both of them left the pitch. "What's wrong?" asked Harry. "Neither of them want to go up against you and are refusing to compete. Cormac thinks he can beat you, so it's between you and him. Great job on that Runsky feint. Almost gave me a heart attack, but great job," said Oliver. Harry and Cormac got into place. "You won't trick me like that," said Cormac. "We'll see," said Harry. Oliver released the snitch and the two of them started circling the pitch. Cormac wasn't following him like Caleb did, but he was watching him more than actually looking for the snitch himself. After several minutes Harry finally saw the snitch, but it was not too far behind where Cormac was, so Harry started flying slowly toward Cormac. When he got halfway toward him he sped up like he was going to ram Cormac. Instead of being hit, Cormac dived out of the way and Harry continued on and caught the snitch. "He cheated," yelled Cormac when they landed. "He caught the snitch fair and square. Get out of here." "Congratulations, Harry. We have practice tomorrow. We'll see how you do with bludgers in the air then." "Do you have a broom?" asked Oliver. "No, my dad taught me with his, but my mum wouldn't let him buy me one," said Harry. "Write him and tell him you're the seeker and ask him to buy you one. As you know, the school brooms aren't that good," said Oliver. Oliver left the pitch and Hermione came crashing into Harry, hugging him. "I was so scared." "Why did you fly like that?" asked Hermione. "I wanted to win," said Harry. Hermione went with Harry to put the school broom up and then they went to dinner. Afterwards Harry spent some time on his homework at Hermione's insistence and then went up to his bed and pulled out his mirror. "Dad," called Harry. "Hey, Harry. How are you doing, son?" asked James. "You'll never believe what happened, Dad," said Harry. "What?" asked James. "I made the Gryffindor Quidditch team." "I'm Seeker," said Harry. "Are you serious?" asked James. "No, Dad. I'm Harry," said Harry. That pun stopped being funny before that old dog ever said it. "You're really Seeker?" asked James. "Yes, Dad. My first practice is tomorrow. I only have 3 weeks to get ready before our first game against Slytherin," said Harry. "Congratulations, Harry. We need to get you a broom." "I'll get you one as quickly as possible," said James. "That's great, Dad," said Harry. "I'm proud of you, Harry. How are things going with you and Jamie?" asked James knowingly. "Sirius told you?" asked Harry. "Sirius told me that you two weren't talking, but he said that he didn't know why," said James. "He doesn't. I couldn't tell him and I don't want to tell you. It will only make things worse," said Harry. "Okay, Harry. I won't push, but I think you should try and call her again. She'd want to know about this from you," said James. "I'll try. I've missed her," said Harry. "Well, stop talking to this old man and call her," said James. "I will. I love you, Dad." "Tell Mum I love her," said Harry. "I love you too and I will. Call her." "Bye," said James and the mirror cut off. Harry looked at the mirror for a bit. "Jamie," called Harry and there was no answer. "Jamie, I'm so sorry. I was an idiot. Jamie, I miss you so much and something happened today and I want to talk to you about it so badly. Please forgive me. I'll do anything." There was still no reply, so Harry put the mirror down and got his pajamas on and laid down. He was about to close his eyes when he heard, "Harry, are you there?" "I'm here, Jamie," said Harry, grabbing the mirror. "So, you'll do anything?" asked Jamie. "Yes, Jamie. I'm so very sorry. Whatever you want. I've missed you so very much," said Harry. "I've missed you too, Harry. What did you want to tell me? Asked Jamie. I'm the new Seeker for the Gryffindor, said Harry. That's amazing. I have to tell Dad. We can come to your games, said Jamie. That would be great. I hope you can. I can show you all around Hogwarts. My first practice is tomorrow and Dad is going to get me a new broom, said Harry. Well, you need to get to sleep then. I'll go talk to Dad and you tell me how it all goes tomorrow, said Jamie. Okay, good night, Jamie. I'm glad you're talking to me again, said Harry. Good night, Harry. I'll start coming up with that list of everything I want, said Jamie before cutting off the mirror. Harry put the mirror up and laid down. He was on the Quidditch team and Jamie was talking to him again. Things were looking up. Chapter 7, A Troll and Some More Quidditch. Sunday, the 6th of October, 1991. The next morning at breakfast Harry got his broom delivered personally. Jamie. Dad, yelled Harry, hugging Jamie. Oh, so I have to wait for a hug from my son? Asked James. Always when I'm around, said Jamie, laughing. I'll have to remember that, said James, pulling Harry into a hug. Is that? Started Harry. That's a Nimbus 2000, yelled Ron. I thought my son deserved the best and right now this is it, said James. Thank you, Dad. Can you stay for a little while? Asked Harry. Well, we thought we'd stay and watch your first practice and then we can give Jamie a Marauder's tour of Hogwarts, said James. Well, let's go out to the pitch to give the broom a try before practice. Ron, do you want to come? Asked Harry. Ron stopped eating and joined them. Fred and George followed them out too. Mr. Potter, did you say Marauders earlier? Asked Fred. Yes. You've heard of the Marauders? Asked James. You are pranksters. We've taken on the valiant struggle of Moony, Wormtail, Padfoot and Prongs, said George. Well, I can tell you that Prongs is honored that our tradition continues. I solemnly swear I am up to no good, said James. Fred and George looked at each other and George removed some parchment from his robes. You found the map? Asked James. We nicked it from Filch's office in first year. We return it to you, Prongs of the Marauders, said Fred. There's a room you might want to add to the map. It's on the 7th floor across from Barnabas the Barmy. It's the room of requirement, said George. We couldn't figure out how to add it to the map, said Fred. The only ones who could would be us Marauders or our heirs. Well, let's see how this broom does, said James, handing it to Harry. The broom was excellent. Much better than the ones they had at home. With his mom not there, Harry tried out the Runski feint that his dad had explained to him and was able to pull it off, his feet skimming the grass as he pulled back up. Jamie decided to go up with him instead of taking a turn by herself. She held on to Harry tightly and screamed with joy as Harry flew her around. Ron, Fred and George were all able to try the Nimbus out as well before practice. That was amazing. All of you are so good. I don't think you'll have any trouble winning the cup for Gryffindor, said Jamie as they were leaving the pitch to go to the Great Hall for lunch. They were going to have their tour afterwards. When they got to lunch, Harry introduced Jamie to Hermione and the two of them hit it off well. Has Harry done anything else stupid since your birthday, Hermione? Asked Jamie. No, I think he learned his lesson pretty well after you wouldn't talk to him, said Hermione. Can we just forget that it happened? Asked Harry. No, said Hermione and Jamie. Jamie invited Hermione to go on the tour with them and after they were done James added the room of requirement to the map and gave it to Harry, telling him that he needed to get started on his own pranks before the Yule break. Just before they left, Jamie gave Harry a hug and a kiss on the cheek. She also whispered something into his ear that made him blush. What was that about? Asked James. You'll find out on Christmas, said Harry, still blushing. Thursday, the 31st of October, 1991. Practices and classes continued to go well and quickly it came to be the end of October. Today was the anniversary of the attack on the Potters and while early on Lily had tried to focus on it being Halloween, Harry had the memories of the attack from Voldemort's point of view, so the day always put him in a bad mood. In charms that day they were going over the levitation charm. Harry like always got it finished early and was doing some spectacular maneuvers with his feather while Hermione was trying to help Ron. It's Leviosa, not Leviosa. Honestly, Ronald, said Hermione. Well, if you're so smart you do it, snapped Ron. Wingardium Leviosa, said Hermione and her feather floated up. Ron was grumpy all the rest of the class, and when classes ended he became worse. It's Leviosa, not Leviosa. She's a nightmare. It's no wonder she hasn't got any friends, said Ron, causing Hermione to shove past him, crying. You stupid git. She was just trying to help you. And for your information, Hermione does have a friend, me, said Harry. Well, you're the only one, said Ron. Hermione didn't show up in the rest of the classes that day, and Harry was told by Lavender and Parvati at the Halloween feast that she was crying in the second-floor bathroom and that she wouldn't come out. Harry was about to go tell Professor McGonagall when the doors to the Great Hall burst open. Troll. In the dungeon. Troll in the dungeon. Thought you ought to know, said Professor Quirrell before falling in a dead faint. The students started screaming and Dumbledore silenced them all and told the prefects to take the students to their common rooms. As they were heading to Gryffindor Tower, Harry tried to get Ron to go with him to get Hermione, but Ron wouldn't. Harry ran without him and found Hermione cowering under the sink with the troll about to smash her with its club. Harry waved his hand and blasted the club apart, which sent a large chunk of it into the troll's neck. Hermione just avoided getting smashed when the troll fell to the ground and bled out. Professors McGonagall, Snape and Quirrell showed up shortly after the troll fell. What are the two of you doing? Why aren't you in your common room? Asked Professor McGonagall. Hermione has been crying in the bathroom all day because Ron was mean to her. She didn't know about the troll, so I came to get her and found her about to be killed. I sent a blasting spell at the club and a chunk of it went into the troll's neck, killing it, said Harry. Well, that was very brave and foolish, Mr. Potter. However, you were successful in saving Miss Granger, so 50 points will be awarded to Gryffindor. Do either of you need the hospital wing? Asked Professor McGonagall. I think we're both fine, Professor, said Harry, and Hermione nodded in agreement. Very well. We'll handle this. The two of you go to the common room. The feast is being continued there, said Professor McGonagall. Harry and Hermione left the bathroom and Harry noticed that Professor Snape's pants leg was torn and he was bleeding. Harry had heard rumors from the Weasley twins that there was a three-headed dog in the third-floor corridor and wondered if that's how Professor Snape got hurt. TFTL. Harry and Hermione joined the rest of the Gryffindors in the common room and ate some of the food. Hermione was quiet the whole time until everyone started going to their dorms. Harry, you saved my life, said Hermione. You would have done the same for me, said Harry. I would have, said Hermione, looking like she was struggling with a decision. She then looked right at him. I, Hermione Jean Granger, acknowledge that I owe a life debt to Harry James Potter of House Potter. Hermione, you know how most life debts are repaid, don't you? I can't accept. I know I'm only 11 and Jamie is 9, but I know that I want to be with her in the future, said Harry. You can be with both of us if you want. You don't have to make your decision now. I'm just stating that the debt is owed. Talk to Jamie and your family and see what they have to say, said Hermione. Hermione gave Harry a kiss on the cheek and went to her dorm. After Harry was in bed, he got out his mirror. Dad, I know it's late, but I need to talk to you and Mum, said Harry. What's wrong, Harry? Asked James. Harry told them about the troll and how Hermione said that she owed him a life debt. I have half a mind to come up to the school now, said Lily. Lily, Harry's fine. We need to decide what to do about this, but it's late. Harry, we'll think on this, but it probably would be best to talk about this during the Yule break when we're all together, said James. Okay, Dad. I love you both. Tell Iris and Ivy that I love them too, said Harry. We will. And we love you too, said Lily. Saturday, the 2nd of November, 1991. The day of the first Quidditch game of the year came and Harry was ready, but nervous. After breakfast the team geared up and listened to Oliver's pre-game speech. Quickly though, it was time to go out to the pitch. Everyone got into position. Harry was looking at the stands and saw that his whole family was there with the Blacks and Remus as well. Jamie was in the front of where they were seated screaming his name. Harry waved as Lee started his announcing. Welcome to the first game of the Hogwarts Quidditch season, Gryffindor vs Slytherin. I'm your announcer, Lee Jordan. The captains come to the middle of the pitch and shake hands, and it looks like Marcus Flint is trying to break Oliver Wood's hand. Dirty snake, said Lee. Jordan, said Professor McGonagall. Sorry, Professor. The snitch is released, followed by the quaffle, and the game begins. Johnson gets the quaffle and makes her way through the bludgers and fires the quaffle past Bletchley. 10 points to Gryffindor, said Lee. After that first score the game started to get a little more hectic. As good as the Gryffindor team was, they couldn't handle all the fouls the Slytherin team did. Katie Bell scored another goal, but then... "Son of a bitch," said Lee, ignoring Professor McGonagall. He continued. And Flint takes the bat from his beater and sends the bludger into Wood's face, breaking his nose, allowing a score. 10 points to Slytherin. Harry saw the snitch and started to go for it, but his broom started jumping side to side and up and down, trying to throw him off. While Harry was trying to get his broom under control, Flint kept scoring while everyone was distracted. When Harry finally got control, the score was 20-60 Slytherin. Potter gets stable and shoots forward. He's seen the snitch. Potter is speeding towards the snitch and Higgs is right behind him. Not anymore. Weasley just struck Higgs in the back with a bludger, knocking him off his broom while Potter grabs the snitch. Gryffindor wins 170-60, said Lee. Harry landed and was hugged by everyone on the team, and then from out of nowhere he was tackled by someone. "We were so scared when you lost control of your broom, but you won," yelled Jamie. "I don't know what happened with the broom, but I was able to regain control," said Harry, getting back up. "We think you gained control back because of all of us doing a counter curse, son," said James, walking up. "Who was cursing my broom?" asked Harry. "Hermione thinks it was Professor Snape, but we told her that we didn't think any professor would have done it," said James. "Well, let's stop worrying about that and take these winners to the Three Broomsticks for a treat." "I already got approval from Dumbledore," said Sirius. Later that night. "That's twice you've failed me now, Quirrell." "I'm sorry, Master. I tried to take care of Potter, but there were too many of them using counter curses." "It won't happen again," said Professor Quirrell. "See that it doesn't." Chapter 8, Prank and Yule Break. Friday, the 20th of December, 1991. The rest of November and the first few weeks of December went by without incident. When not working on homework or talking to Jamie or Hermione, Harry was working on his prank. Harry was determined to get one good prank in before they left on the Hogwarts Express, and he finally got it finished and ready for the last day of term. Everybody was in the Great Hall eating breakfast when a silver orb came floating in and up to the teacher's table in front of Headmaster Dumbledore. The orb danced around Dumbledore's head, and even though he knew he shouldn't do it, Dumbledore took out his wand and tried to banish the orb. There was a loud bang and a bright, blinding light filled the Great Hall. When everyone could see again, they laughed at what was going on at the head table. All the professors' clothes had been changed. Professor Snape was wearing Professor McGonagall's robes and she was wearing his with her hair all greased back. The rest of the staff had similar switches with each other. A scream brought the attention that the students were affected too. All the Slytherins had Gryffindor robes and the Gryffindors were in Slytherin robes. The same for the Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw students. On top of that, the boys were in girls' robes and the girls were in the boys' uniform. Everything was balanced except the girl that screamed. She was completely in pink. Even her once beautiful red hair was pink. "Potter!" screamed Susan, and Harry ran for it as Susan chased him, firing spells that only her aunt could have taught her. He just had to go with Jamie's idea for Susan. Dumbledore looked at Professor McGonagall and couldn't stop from laughing. "Minerva, could you be so kind as to go and save young Mr. Potter from Miss Bones and bring them to my office?" said Dumbledore. "Gladly, Professor Dumbledore," said Professor McGonagall, drawing her wand with a grin. Saturday, the 21st of December, 1991. A month of detention when school was back in session. At least Susan ended up with a month too, because when Professor McGonagall had caught up with them, Susan had banished him into the Black Lake. The pictures that Professor McGonagall got of him being thrown back out by the giant squid with the conjured camera should have been worth a couple weeks' reprieve, thought Harry. When Harry exited the train, it was to a round of applause from his dad, Padfoot and Moony. Lily wasn't as happy. "Don't encourage him. He got Susan in trouble too," said Lily. "Come on, Lils, do you know how long it took us to earn a month's detention for one prank? And to also get someone the same amount of detention is brilliant," said James. "Second year, I think I remember correctly." Padfoot removed all the girls' panties and summoned them to him during the welcoming feast, said Remus. James started to laugh. Don't you laugh or you won't get any for a month. Do you realize how embarrassing that was? Asked Lily. James composed himself. Of course I do, Lily love, said James. As they all headed to the public flue, Remus conjured a whip and asked, should I give this to Lily? Only if you want her to use it on you, said James seriously. Remus knew he was right. TFTL. Harry asked to go to Gringotts and do some Christmas shopping, but first they had to go and get Iris and Ivy from Amelia. When Ivy saw Harry, she ran up to him and demanded to be picked up. Harry, can I come to Hogwarts with you? Asked Ivy. I'm sorry, but you're too young, said Harry. Please, said Ivy. Okay, but only if Mum says it's okay, said Harry. Yeah, said Ivy. Harry went into Gringotts with James and they went to see the account manager while Lily and the others got started on shopping. While they were waiting, James asked, so do I finally get to find out what Jamie whispered to you that day? Dad, I don't know how to tell Mum, but you know that I love Jamie. I know you're going to say I can't love her and that I'm only 11 and she's 9, but I do love her, said Harry. I wouldn't say any of that, son. I fell for your mum in our first year, it just took her a while to see that she loved me too. You've been around Jamie for a long time and while you're young, her more so, I know you love each other. So let me guess that Jamie wants a marriage contract with you, said James. Yes. I need to get her a ring too, said Harry. Well, there are rings in our vault. Ones that'll change and grow with her and we can make up the contract with Snaggletooth. When we tell your mom, you better get used to sleeping on the couch, said James. Why? Asked Harry. Because when your mum cuts me off and kicks me out of our bed, I'll be sleeping in yours, said James, laughing. TFTL. If you keep smiling, I'm going to neuter you, Sirius, said Lily. Lils. Started James. Don't lils me. This is our son and you signed a contract taking away his choice, said Lily. No, I didn't, Lily. That's what I've been trying to tell you. Harry and Jamie wanted this. In a way, it's his Christmas present to her that she asked for. And I'm sorry, but I'm also happy because this brings mine and Sirius houses together, said James. But they're babies. They don't know that they want this. It's not real, said Lily. Lily, you've seen them around each other. Stop thinking logically and think about how they are toward one another, said James. Fine. I know you're right, said Lily, heading out of the sitting room. James was about to say something about him not being punished when she added, and you're not getting any for a month. Sirius was on the floor laughing. Shut it, Padfoot, said James. Wednesday, the 25th of December, 1991. Christmas for the Potters and Blacks was always a hectic affair. They did their present opening together, and when 6 kids and 3 big kids are opening presents, there's a lot of paper and boxes thrown around. Jamie was beside Harry going through all her stuff and realized that she didn't have her present from Harry. Where is it, Harry? Asked Jamie. Where is what? Asked Harry. Harry, you know not to play with me, said Jamie. Jamie, I seriously don't know what you're talking about, said Harry. Jamie turned towards where Sirius was and saw the contract he was holding out to her. She ran and grabbed it from him. He really did it, yelled Jamie. Then turning back to Harry, she added, you really? Jamie stopped because Harry was down on one knee holding a ring in his hand. Jamie, Lily Black, will you do me the honor of being my wife and partner? Asked Harry. When? I mean yes. Definitely yes, but when? Asked Jamie. The contract stipulates by a month from your graduation date, Jamie, but it can also be after you take your OWL, said Sirius. Harry and Jamie looked at each other. OWL year, they said together and laughed. Thursday, the 2nd of January, 1992. It was just a couple days before Harry would return to Hogwarts when James, Lily and Harry had time to discuss Hermione and the life debt. Does Hermione understand how a life debt is normally repaid? Asked James. Yes, but I don't feel that way about Hermione. I like her and she's a great friend, but I don't see myself falling in love with her, said Harry. I understand that, but with the life debt, love isn't the only factor, said James. It should be, said Lily. I agree, Lily love, but this is something that needs to be taken seriously. As a Muggleborn, there aren't many options for repayment of the debt, said James. Can't I just say that there is no debt owed? Asked Harry. No, it doesn't work that way. If you were only Lord Slytherin, then you would be able to clear the debt by just saying that nothing was owed, but you are also the heir to the Potter family and you risked your life to save Hermione. That has to be repaid, said James. If I could forgive the debt as Lord Slytherin, why can't you forgive it as Lord Potter? Asked Harry. I guess I could, but it isn't done, said James. Since when have the Potters done anything because it's how things are done? Asked Lily. You're right. I'll write a letter to Hermione forgiving the debt as Lord Potter and you should do the same as Lord Slytherin. Sunday, the 5th of January, 1992. The whole family was at King's Cross again to see Harry and Susan off. Ivy was pouting because Lily had told her she couldn't go, but she at least wasn't mad at Harry. Harry hugged both Iris and Ivy goodbye and made his promises that he would do another prank soon. James and Sirius told him to get some friends who can cover for him. Finally it was time for his goodbye to Jamie. I'm going to miss you, said Jamie. I'll be back for the summer. Oliver wants to practice over Easter break for our last Quidditch game. We have a real shot at winning the cup. Will you come to the game? Asked Harry. Only if you promise to catch the snitch for me, said Jamie. Always, said Harry as he heard the whistle from the train. I've got to go. Harry hugged Jamie and went to kiss her cheek and she turned and made him kiss her on the lips. Well, he's got you beat, Prongs, said Sirius. You too, Padfoot, said James. Chapter 9, A Valentine's Day Visit. Monday, the 20th of January, 1992. The first 2 weeks of the new term were difficult. Harry gave Hermione the letters and explained that while she was one of his best friends and that he cared for her a lot, it wasn't in a romantic way. Hermione left the compartment crying and hadn't spoken to Harry since. Oliver was upset with Harry since he'd miss out on a lot of practices because of the detentions he had. On top of that, Professor McGonagall made Harry and Susan have their detentions together, so he had to hear her talk constantly while they cleaned what felt like every inch of the castle. The only thing that kept Harry in any kind of good mood was his talks with Jamie at the end of every day. He didn't fully understand why, but he truly loved her and wished that she was at Hogwarts with him now. Harry made it back to the common room after cleaning the toilets on the 4th floor while listening to Susan talk about who was cuter, Ernie Macmillan, Justin Finch Fletchley or Cedric Diggory. When he entered the common room he saw Hermione sitting on the floor waiting for him. How long have you been sitting there? Asked Harry. I don't know, but my butt is numb, said Hermione. Harry helped her get up and they sat down on one of the couches. There was silence for a while and then. I'm sorry, said Harry and Hermione. No, I overreacted, Harry. I'm sorry. I knew that you already had feelings for Jamie and I fooled myself into thinking you cared for me, said Hermione. I do care for you, Hermione, just not in that way. You are important to me and I don't know what I'd do without you as my friend. Jamie was my best friend and has been for a long time and now she's my fiancée. I think she would accept you being my new best friend, said Harry. Whether she's your fiancée or wife or anything, she will always be your best friend, Harry, but I will accept being one of your best friends, said Hermione. Harry gave Hermione a hug and headed upstairs for his call with Jamie. She was happy to hear that Hermione was talking to Harry again, couldn't wait till she got to see her again when they came for the next Quidditch match. Friday, the 14th of February, 1992. The next few weeks were a lot better for Harry. He still had to get through the last 2 weeks of detentions, but with Hermione back it went a lot more smoothly. On the last day of detention, as Susan left to go back to the Hufflepuff common room, Harry hit her with a spell that would turn all her clothes pink the second she touched them. The spell would last for 2 weeks and had to fade away on its own. Quidditch practice was better as well since Oliver wasn't as sour since Harry was able to make it to all of their practices leading up to their match against Hufflepuff. At their last practice Oliver gave them the bad news that Professor Snape was going to be refereeing the match. Harry woke up on Valentine's Day morning in a pretty good mood. Uncharacteristically, Oliver gave the team the day off so they'd be rested for the match tomorrow. His mood however dropped a bit when he tried to call Jamie only for there to be no answer. He got ready for the day and woke up wrong before meeting Hermione in the common room and headed to the Great Hall. As soon as he entered through the doors his mood went back up. Sitting at the Gryffindor table was Jamie. Harry ran to her, ignoring Professor McGonagall's calls about running in the Great Hall, and grabbed Jamie in a hug. "What are you doing here?" asked Harry. I thought I would come and spend Valentine's Day with my fiancée. So, where are my flowers? Asked Jamie. I had flowers and chocolates sent to you. You should have gotten them this morning, said Harry as they sat down. I did. They arrived just before my dad brought me here and dropped me off, said Jamie. He dropped you off? We have classes today. What are you going to do by yourself? Asked Hermione, reminding them that she was there. I won't be by myself. Dumbledore gave permission for me to be in your classes today. Also, I get to sleep in the first-year girls' dorm tonight. I'll go home tomorrow after the Quidditch match, said Jamie. Why would Professor Dumbledore allow this? Asked Hermione. Because I'm awesome, said Jamie. Hermione wasn't convinced. Harry's dad and my dad talked to Dumbledore and he gave his permission. I don't know the reason why. Dumbledore has always been around our families, so maybe that's why. Well, whatever the reason, I'm happy that you're here. So you got your present. Where's mine? Asked Harry. Tada, I'm here. Happy Valentine's Day, said Jamie, and Hermione laughed. TFTL. Most of the professors loved having Jamie in their classes throughout the day. Professor McGonagall transfigured a rock into a stuffed dog that looked a lot like Padfoot and gave it to her, and Professor Flitwick showed her that changing things to other colors was just as fun as the color pink. The obvious exception was Professor Snape. Harry and Hermione were sitting at their normal table while Jamie grabbed a chair and sat by Harry at the end of the table. Professor Snape stormed into the classroom with his robes billowing behind him like always and turned to the class to start what was going to be a hate-filled lecture when his eyes landed on Jamie. Jamie had features from both Amelia and Sirius, obviously, but she had Sirius eyes, and that is what Professor Snape focused on. What are you doing in my class? Asked Professor Snape. Professor Dumbledore gave me permission to sit in on Harry's classes today, sir, said Jamie respectfully. I decide who is in my classroom, and as you are not a student you will leave now, said Professor Snape. But, sir, started Harry. 10 points from Gryffindor for speaking out of turn, said Professor Snape. He then focused back on Jamie. Why are you still here? I have permission to be here from Headmaster Dumbledore and I'm not leaving, said Jamie, putting emphasis on the word headmaster. Why, you insolent little brat, said Professor Snape. Get over yourself, Snivellus, said Jamie, all respect gone from her voice. Professor Snape raised his wand and Harry jumped up and wandlessly raised a shield in front of Jamie. Professor Snape lowered his wand and yelled, "Get out! All of you!" The classroom cleared quickly, and once they were far enough away Hermione stopped Jamie. How could you? Professor Snape might not be the nicest person, but he's still a professor. You should have shown him more respect than that, said Hermione. Not the nicest person. Hermione, I know from what Harry has told me that you are blinded by authority, but Snape is a bully and he was a Death Eater, said Jamie. Hermione had only read a little about the war with Voldemort, but she knew what a Death Eater was. Surely he wasn't. Professor Dumbledore would never have made him a professor if that was the case, said Hermione. He was, Hermione. The only reason he isn't in Azkaban is because Dumbledore vouched for him, said Harry. Still, he's a professor and deserves respect, said Hermione. Respect isn't deserved, it's earned, said Jamie, taking Harry's hand and walking down the hall away from Hermione. TFTL. Harry and Jamie spent some time flying and shared a few small kisses before returning to the common room just before curfew. Hermione came up to them when they sat down. I'm sorry, Jamie, and you're right. I think a person with authority is supposed to be shown respect no matter what. I don't think I can change that belief, but I respect your opinion and don't want to keep arguing with you. I hope you'll still be my friend, said Hermione. Of course I'm your friend, Hermione. People have disagreements and arguments. Sometimes it's bad enough to end a friendship, but this isn't one of those times, said Jamie as she pulled Hermione into a hug. The three of them talked for a while until it was time for them to go to bed. Harry gave Jamie a hug and a goodnight kiss that caused wolf whistles to echo in the common room. He suspected Fred and George were behind it. Jamie said goodnight and followed Hermione up the girls' staircase to the dorms. Harry went up to his dorm room and laid down as soon as he was in his sleep clothes. There was a voice calling him from his mirror, so he picked it up and answered. I'm glad that you were here today, Jamie, said Harry. I had a lot of fun and I can't wait to start my first year. Although it will suck being 2 years behind you, said Jamie. It'll be okay. I'll be able to help you and make sure you are top of your year, said Harry. That'll be great. Hermione is complaining and telling me to go to sleep. Happy Valentine's Day, Harry, said Jamie. Happy Valentine's Day, Jamie, said Harry. Two people closed the connection on their mirrors and made themselves comfortable in their beds. It had been an amazing day and it would be sad for it to end the next day. As they started to fall asleep, two voices whispered, "I love you." Chapter 10, The Dark Lord Harry. Saturday, the 15th of February, 1992. The Quidditch match ended pretty quickly with Gryffindor winning 170-0 against Hufflepuff. Since the game was short, Sirius hadn't arrived yet to pick Jamie up, so Harry and her were enjoying a walk around the Black Lake. "That was awesome. The way you dive-bombed Snape to get to the snitch, you really are amazing," Harry said. Jamie. Harry didn't miss the change in her tone though. "What's wrong, Jamie?" asked Harry. "Do you really love me, Harry?" asked Jamie. "Why do you ask?" asked Harry. Jamie walked over to a tree and sat down against it. Harry joined her. "I know you care about me, Harry, but I keep thinking that you only did the marriage contract because that's what I wanted for Christmas," said Jamie. "I did have the marriage contract drawn up because it's what you wanted," said Harry. He quickly continued when he saw Jamie looked upset. "We're young, Jamie, but we grew up together. I know Sirius and my dad wanted us to be together, but I loved all the time we spent together. Messing with Susan and Iris, hell, we even got some pranks over the Great Marauders. Do I love you? There's no doubt in my mind, and that's why I got the marriage contract. Not only because you wanted it as a present, but because I wanted it too." Harry was looking into Jamie's eyes while talking and he saw her eyes tear up and she started crying. "Jamie, did I say something wrong? Why are you crying?" asked Harry. Jamie didn't answer. She just wrapped her arms around Harry in a hug and cried into his shoulder. "You didn't say anything wrong. It was beautiful," said Jamie. "Ah. Crab, Goyle, look at Potter and the baby." "Can't find anyone your own age, Potter?" asked Draco. "Leave us alone, Draco. If the three of you are looking for a romantic spot, there's a good one on the other side of the lake," said Harry while getting up and helping Jamie up as well. "No need for jabs like that, Potter, we just came here to give you another chance to accept my friendship. You have a lot of potential, Potter, I've been watching you, but with you being a half-blood you're at a disadvantage. With my friendship you could really open doors that would otherwise be closed to you," said Draco. "You're so stupid, Draco. You have no idea the doors that are open to Harry. He's the heir of the Potter family. That alone puts him above your French, farmer-turned-Death Eater family," said Jamie. "How dare you talk to me like that? You better teach your little whore when it's appropriate to open her mouth," said Draco. Harry stopped Jamie from retaliating before walking right up to Draco. "What did you just say?" asked Harry right up in Draco's face. "I said teach your little whore." That's as far as Draco got before Harry had Crabbe and Goyle bound up in ropes and Draco stuck against the tree. "Harry, no. He's not worth it," said Jamie. "Apologize," yelled Harry. "I don't have to apologize to that blood traitor whore," said Draco. Harry waved his hand and a small cut appeared on both of Draco's cheeks. "Apologize or you'll regret it," said Harry in a deathly calm voice. "There's nothing you can do to make me," said Draco. "Really? That's what you think?" asked Harry waving his hand again. Draco was released from the tree and he walked up to Jamie, took her by the hands and said, "I'm so sorry for what I said, Jamie. If there's anything I can ever do to earn your forgiveness, please let me know." Harry waved his hand again and Draco looked around like he was lost for a second before coming to his senses. "You used the Imperius Curse on me. Wait until my father hears this. You, your little whore, your family, everyone is through. Especially your mudblood mother," said Draco. Harry waved his hand again and Draco went down to the ground in what looked like tremendous pain. He convulsed on the ground for just over a minute before Jamie grabbed hold of Harry. "Harry, stop. Harry," yelled Jamie. Harry stopped and looked at Jamie, all anger and hate leaving his face. He pulled away from Jamie and sent a wandless obliviate to Draco, Crabbe and Goyle. He looked at Jamie one last time before running off. Jamie yelled for Harry before running after him. Sirius was exiting the castle when Harry ran by. He was able to catch Jamie before she passed. "Dad, let me go. I gotta stop Harry," yelled Jamie. "Hold on. What's going on?" asked Sirius. "I can't tell you, but we have to get him," said Jamie. Sirius pulled out the map, James, Remus, and he duplicated it so all three of them could have a copy. "Look, there he is. He's at the edge of the forest by Hagrid's hut," said Sirius. "Okay, but when we get there I have to talk to him alone," said Jamie. Sirius didn't like it, but he agreed. They got to the area around Harry and Jamie went the rest of the way by herself. "Harry," said Jamie. "Go away, Jamie. I don't want to hurt you," said Harry. "You would never hurt me," Harry said. "Jamie. You saw what I did." "I'm dangerous," said Harry. "Not to me, you're not. I don't really know what you did other than that you defended me. I know it's something wrong, but I know that it wasn't you. I don't know how, but it wasn't you that hurt Draco," said Jamie. Harry didn't have the strength to tell her that it was him. Jamie helped him up and they met up with Sirius and said their goodbyes. Harry headed back to the castle unaware of the eyes that followed him. "Interesting. Even at the height of my power I couldn't cast a wandless and wordless unforgivable. And the power behind that Crucio. It was remarkable, Master." "What are we going to do about him?" asked Quirrell. "Nothing for the moment. Get the stone and we'll have a conversation with Mr. Potter." Chapter 11, A Conversation with Voldemort. Monday, the 20th of April, 1992. The last couple months were starting to get to Harry. He knew everything that was being taught and more. Quidditch was a welcome break to the monotony, but it only helped a little. Easter came and went. As soon as they stepped off the train and got to the common room, Hermione was hassling him, Ron and every other Gryffindor to study for finals. Harry knew he'd have no problem with the exams, but Hermione didn't know that, so he went along when she handed out revision schedules to everyone. The Weasley twins, who had to stay at Hogwarts over the holiday because of detentions, entertained everyone with interesting stories of what had happened while they were away from Hogwarts. Apparently Hagrid had hatched a dragon in his hut. Dumbledore shipped the dragon off to Romania after it set fire to the hut. The story that interested Harry though was where the twins had witnessed Professor Snape threatening Professor Quirrell about what was being kept in the third-floor corridor. Harry hadn't really cared much about the warning before, but it might be interesting to find out what it was all about. Harry got the twins' attention and they told him that the rumors about the three-headed dog were true. It was a Cerberus that belonged to Hagrid and they'd found out that music would put it to sleep. They were planning on finding out what was beyond the dog soon. Harry convinced them to allow him to join them and they planned to go to the corridor Friday after everyone was asleep. Friday, the 24th of April, 1992. Even with something to look forward to, the week went by slowly. Finally though, Harry, Fred and George were outside the door to the three-headed dog. "Are you ready, Harry?" asked Fred. "There's no shame if you're scared," said George. "I'm not scared." "Let's go," said Harry. Fred got the wireless he'd brought ready while George opened the door. The dog growled a bit when they entered, but the music playing on the wireless put it to sleep quickly. They started looking around and Harry noticed a trapdoor close to where the dog was laying. George opened the door. "There's no ladder." "We'll have to jump," said George. Fred cast Lumos and looked down the hole. "It doesn't look like that far of a drop." "I'll go first," said Fred before jumping. After a couple seconds he called that it's okay. Harry and George jumped down as well and could tell immediately it wasn't okay. Fred was already wrapped up good by the devil's snare. Harry grabbed his wand quickly and yelled, "Lumos Solemn," before he was tied up as well. "Thanks," Harry said. Fred after the three of them got up from being dropped the rest of the way to the ground. The three of them made it through the various traps they encountered pretty easily until they reached the giant chessboard. "Maybe we should have brought Ron with us," said George. "No. He'd have pissed himself back at the devil's snare," said Fred. "Ron's not that bad," said Harry unsurely. "So what are we going to do?" "Professor McGonagall would have made sure that we couldn't just destroy the pieces, so I think we'll have to play," said Fred. "I don't know about the two of you, but I'm not very good at chess," said Harry. "Well, we're not at Ron's level, but we're not that bad at it, said George. The three of them took the places of three of the pieces and the game started. 15 minutes later they'd lost spectacularly. All of them had multiple cuts and bruises. Harry wasn't wanting to show his power, but he didn't want to quit either, so he used an obscure spell and vanished the board and the pieces. I think we need to talk later, Harry said Fred as they walked through the door. Harry was about to reply, but then quickly pushed Fred and George out of the way before a club hit the ground where they had been. Harry struck the troll's club like before, but this time the troll avoided getting struck by the debris. Fred and George were firing spells at it to no effect. Harry knew they'd never make it out alive, so struck the troll with a dark curse, causing its skin to burn and melt away. Fred and George looked at Harry and the troll in horror. Harry, started George. I know you'll have a lot of questions. I promise I'll answer some of them, but for now I'm going to use the life debt the two of you now owe me to keep your silence about what you have seen, said Harry. Fred and George agreed, giving their oaths of silence. The riddle that Professor Snape set was simple to get through, and the three of them made it into the final chamber in the corridor. It was empty except for a mirror. That's what this is about. A mirror that can show you anything you want, asked Fred. I think there's something else here, said Harry. Where? Asked George. It feels like there's something in the mirror, said Harry. Do you think we should break it? Asked George. No. If we break it, whatever is in there will be lost forever, said Harry. Very good, Harry. You're even more impressive than I previously thought, said a voice, causing Harry to turn. Professor Quirrell, why are you here? Asked Harry. I was alerted when my troll was defeated. After seeing the way you dispatched it, I have to agree with my master. What should I do with the Weasleys, Master? Asked Professor Quirrell. Let them go. Harry and I need to talk, said the voice. Messrs. Weasley, you may both go. You'll find that their way back has been cleared, said Professor Quirrell. I don't think we should leave Harry with you, said Fred. I'm not giving you a choice. Leave now before my master changes his mind about letting you live, said Professor Quirrell. Fred and George wanted to argue more, but decided that they should go and inform Dumbledore of what was going on. Where is this master of yours? Asked Harry after they'd left. He's here now, Harry. He's always with me, said Professor Quirrell, lowering while removing his turban and turning around. The sight that Harry saw was hideous. Where the back of Professor Quirrell's head should have been was a malformed face. Do you know who I am, Harry? Asked the face. You're Voldemort, said Harry calmly. Yes. With my body destroyed, I have been living as a wraith. Occasionally I have found willing wizards to possess, but they don't last long. Soon I'll have to leave Quirinus, said Voldemort. What does this have to do with me? Asked Harry. Nothing at the moment. My original plan was to confront you after Quirinus retrieved the Sorcerer's Stone for me, but some of your recent activities have intrigued me, said Voldemort. Harry decided to keep Voldemort talking to see what else he would let slip. What has intrigued you exactly? Asked Harry. At the age of 11 you are already very powerful. Through Quirinus I have noticed that you don't have any need to study the material. It's as if you already know it. Then there's the 2 unforgivable curses you used on the Malfoy boy, said Voldemort. I didn't mean to do that, said Harry. Stop lying to yourself, Harry. Those curses only work if you intend for them to. You wanted him to suffer and he deserved what he got, said Voldemort. Harry turned away from Voldemort and faced the mirror. So what does this mirror have to do with the stone? Asked Harry. Dumbledore placed the stone in the mirror with an old enchantment. Only someone who wants to find the stone, but not use it, will be able to remove the stone from the mirror, said Voldemort. So essentially the other protections were worthless. Nobody would ever get the stone out of the mirror, said Harry. There are some who would pass the test, but I don't think anyone like that is in this room. You might disagree, Harry, but you are a lot like me, said Voldemort. You have killed thousands of wizards, witches and muggles. You also tried to kill me when I was a baby. I am nothing like you, said Harry. Dumbledore will be here soon, so I'll be going. Think about what I've said and search those memories of mine that I know you have, said Voldemort. I don't. Started Harry. Don't insult my intelligence, Harry. I know several of my Horcruxes have been destroyed and there are few ways that anyone could have found out about them. "We'll speak again," said Voldemort. Harry watched as a mist started to leave Professor Quirrell. As soon as it departed, the professor started to disintegrate just as Dumbledore came into the room. "Harry, what happened?" asked Dumbledore. "Voldemort was possessing Professor Quirrell. He wanted me to help him get the Sorcerer's Stone," said Harry. Dumbledore approached the mirror and ran his hand over it. "Well, it seems he was unable to convince you," said Dumbledore. Harry didn't say anything else. He knew that Professor Dumbledore wouldn't catch the lie, but he wasn't positively sure of anything surrounding Voldemort currently. Saturday, the 25th of April, 1992. Dumbledore agreed to hold off on telling Harry's parents about what happened for the night, so as soon as he woke up, Harry headed for Dumbledore's office. "What were you thinking going into that corridor, Harry?" yelled Lily as soon as he entered. "I was bored. It seemed like it would be fun to find out what was being hidden with Fred and George," said Harry. "There might not be much left of them when Molly's done with them, but I have half a mind to take my turn giving them a piece of my mind," said Lily. Harry noticed that James cringed at that. "I'm sorry, Mom. It wasn't their fault that I went. I wanted to go with them," said Harry. "You could have died, Harry." "Do you understand what you put us through?" asked Lily. "I do, Mom. All I can say is I'm sorry and that I'll never do anything like this again," said Harry. "I know better than to believe that, but remember that if something like this happens again I'll tell Jamie," said Lily, causing James to laugh. "You didn't tell Jamie what happened last night?" asked Harry timidly. "No, we didn't, but I think you should," said James. "Will you have a Medowitch from St. Mungo's ready when it happens?" asked Harry. "We'll think about it," said James. "What are we going to do about Voldemort?" asked Lily. "There's nothing we can do right now. As much as I know about magic, there's nothing that can hold a wraith captive. We'll just have to hope we find the snake and the diary before he figures out a way to return to corporeal form." "I do have an idea to help with your boredom next year," Harry said, Dumbledore handing him a few books. "What are these?" asked Harry. "While I know you carry within you the memories of everything Voldemort ever learned, there are branches of magic he would have ignored because he didn't understand their importance. Some of what is in these books will take a bit of time to understand, but I think you will find the benefits they provide intriguing," said Dumbledore. Harry thanked Dumbledore and hugged both his parents goodbye, promising that he'd not get in any more trouble before the end of the year. Saturday, the 13th of June, 1992. The last 2 months of school went by with no problems. Dumbledore announced to the school that Professor Quirrell had fallen ill and passed on and that he would be teaching classes for the rest of the term. His classes quickly became the favorite of every student. Gryffindor's last game was against Ravenclaw and they didn't stand a chance. Gryffindor won the Quidditch Cup. Professor McGonagall and Oliver Wood were both in tears when the cup was awarded. Harry finished first for his year. Hermione was upset that he beat her scores, but she congratulated him. Unfortunately, Fred and George lost a lot of points, so Slytherin was able to retain the House Cup. The train ride to King's Cross was chaotic, with students using the last magic they would get to use for the next couple months, but Harry didn't pay attention to any of it. His thoughts were on the conversation with Voldemort and the books that Dumbledore gave him. Voldemort thought that because of the memories he had that he was like him, and Dumbledore thought that despite the memories that he would choose to be like him. "I wonder what they'll think when they find out I choose neither of them," thought Harry. Chapter 12, A Useless Teacher. Saturday, the 13th of June, 1992. Harry exited the train and quickly found his family along with Sirius, Amelia, Carlisle and Jamie. He pulled Jamie into a big hug. Out of the corner of his eye he saw James give Sirius some coins. "What was that for?" asked Harry. "I stupidly bet Sirius that you'd acknowledge us before Jamie," said James. "You should have known better, Dad," said Harry as he pulled Jamie into another hug. "Well, let's get going. You'll have all summer to hug and kiss your fiancé," said James. Jamie apparated home with the Potters since she'd gotten permission to stay the week at Potter Manor. When she and Harry went into his room, she gave him a deep kiss before slapping him. "What was that for?" asked Harry as he rubbed his face. "For putting yourself in danger unnecessarily." "Did you even think about how it would affect me if you died, Harry?" asked Jamie. "I told you what happened. I even told you things I didn't tell my parents or Dumbledore," said Harry. I know and I appreciate that, but I need you to understand how I feel. I love you, Harry, and I don't know what I would do if I lost you, said Jamie. Harry pulled Jamie into a hug and kissed her. You won't lose me. Ever, said Harry. Do I have to ban you two from being alone for this week? Asked Lily from the doorway. No, Mom. I'm sorry. Jamie was still a little upset at me for what happened at school, said Harry. Well, dinner is ready, said Lily. Okay, Mom. We'll be down in a minute, said Harry. Lily left Harry's room. I won't be at Hogwarts with you for another year, so please talk to me before you do something stupid again, said Jamie. I'll try to. I promise, said Harry before kissing Jamie again. Saturday, the 22nd of August, 1992. Harry enjoyed his first week back home. Jamie begged him to teach her some of the first-year material. Harry tried to say it wouldn't do any good since she didn't have a wand yet, but Jamie wouldn't take no for an answer. After Jamie went back home, Harry decided to take a look at the books that Dumbledore had given him, as he'd thought they were light-oriented and talked a lot about the power of love. What did Dumbledore think? That he was going to hug Voldemort to death, thought Harry. The summer went by quickly and Harry's 12th birthday came and went, as well as Jamie's 10th birthday. Amelia was busy at the ministry, so the families waited until after Jamie's birthday to go to Diagon Alley to get school supplies for Harry and Susan. They were about to go to the bookstore when they saw the crowd of witches and wizards. What's going on here? Asked Lily. It looks like Gilderoy Lockhart is signing his new book, said James. I don't know how Lockhart got so popular. He was dreadful at every branch of magic, said Remus. You remember that time when he vanished all his clothes? Asked Sirius. Why do you always remember these kinds of things? Asked Amelia. Maybe he likes naked wizards, said Lily. Sirius mumbled something unintelligible. What was that? Asked Lily while moving her hand towards her wand. Nothing, Lily, said Sirius. Coward, said James. Damn right, said Sirius. They made their way into the bookstore and caught Gilderoy's speech and announcement that he'd be teaching defense against the dark arts at Hogwarts. What is Dumbledore up to hiring him? Asked James. Maybe he's gotten better over the last several years, said Remus. I doubt it, said Sirius. Any further speculation was stopped by Arthur Weasley and Lucius Malfoy fighting. Amelia reprimanded the two of them and threatened to have them both in cells for the night. After the bookstore they went to Madame Mackin's for new robes before refilling their potions supplies at the apothecary. Tuesday, the 1st of September, 1992. The 1st of September came and the Potters and the Blacks found themselves on platform 9 3/4 again. Harry was hugging a crying Ivy because once again he'd be leaving her. Finally Lily took Ivy and he was allowed to say his goodbyes to Jamie. I thought I was going to have to fight for your attention, said Jamie. Never, said Harry while pulling Jamie into a hug. I wish I was going with you, said Jamie. The year will go by quickly and I'll talk to you every night, said Harry. Tonight? Asked Jamie. Tonight, said Harry before kissing Jamie on the lips. Ah, stop making us look bad, Prongslet, said Sirius. It's not hard to do, said Harry. He's got you there, Padfoot, said James laughing. The train's about to leave. You better get on, said Lily. Harry gave Jamie one more kiss before he ran to the train and got on. He didn't really feel like talking to anyone, so was happy when he found an empty compartment. He tried to read the books that Dumbledore gave him again, but soon got bored. He started thinking about what Voldemort had said. Am I really like him? Thought Harry. Harry came to the conclusion that he wasn't like Voldemort. Sure, he'd protect his friends and family with whatever spells it took, but he didn't get off on torturing others. What about Malfoy, though, Harry? The answer that Harry came up with scared him. Malfoy got what he deserved, said Harry. What did Malfoy deserve? Asked Hermione. Nothing, said Harry. He'd been unaware that he'd said that out loud. Can I sit with you? Asked Hermione. Harry answered by gesturing to the open seat. Why are you sitting alone? Asked Hermione. I'm just thinking about Jamie. I'm really going to miss her again this year, said Harry. You'll see her at Quidditch games, I'm sure. Plus, won't you get to talk to her every night? Asked Hermione. Yes, but somehow it's not the same. Because of the marriage contract, Sirius let her stay with us more often this summer, so it's going to be hard not seeing her as often, said Harry. I hope I can find someone who loves me as much as you two love each other, said Hermione. I'm sure you will, said Harry. TFTL. The second years went with the older students and started getting into the carriages. Ron and Neville joined Hermione and Harry. As they were getting into the carriage, Harry stopped and looked at the skeletal creature that was tied to the carriage. He knew from Voldemort's memories that it was called a Thestral and could only be seen by those who'd seen death. Come on, Harry, or we'll be late, said Hermione. Harry got into the carriage and it started moving. Dumbledore's announcements were basic, with there being no warning of death from him. Harry ignored the conversation going on in his dorm and got into bed and sealed his curtains before pulling out his mirror and calling Jamie. They talked for about an hour before Harry started getting tired and she let him go. Wednesday, the 2nd of September, 1992. Harry's first class of the day was Defense Against the Dark Arts. He was interested in the class today not because he'd learned something new. He wanted to see if Professor Lockhart was as much of an idiot as his dad, Remus and Sirius had said. Professor Lockhart entered the classroom with a big smile on his face. Welcome to Defense Against the Dark Arts. I am your professor, Gildero Lockhart, Order of Merlin 3rd class, member of the Dark Force Defense League and winner of Teen Witch Weekly's Greatest Smile Award 3 times running. But I don't talk about that. I didn't get rid of the Bandan Banshee by smiling at her, said Professor Lockhart with a laugh. Harry tuned the rest of what Professor Lockhart was saying until he mentioned the pixies. A cage full of angry Cornish pixies. He can't be that stupid, can he, thought Harry. Well, it turned out that Professor Lockhart was that stupid as he opened the cage and let all the pixies out. Harry wasn't going to let them get too out of control and waved his hand, freezing all the pixies in place before getting them back into the cage. Well done, Harry. 10 points to Gryffindor, said Professor Lockhart before going on about a better spell that Harry could have used that Harry knew didn't exist. It would seem that the Marauders were wrong about Professor Lockhart. He'd actually gotten stupider. Chapter 13, Warnings in Blood. Saturday, October 31st, 1992. Things in Defense Against the Dark Arts didn't get any better. Harry earned himself a detention when Professor Lockhart assigned them a quiz on his books, and none of the questions had anything to do with defense. All of them were things like his favorite color and what his secret ambition is. Harry had fun with some of his answers and Professor Lockhart hadn't thought it was funny. It ended up that Halloween was the day of his detention and Harry was sitting at a table helping Professor Lockhart answer his fan mail. Professor Lockhart was droning on about his fame and how he could help Harry when Harry heard a voice. Kill, kill. Professor Lockhart noticed that Harry was distracted and just thought he was tired because they'd been at their task for 4 hours, so he let him go. Harry continued to hear the voice. It got louder the further down the hall he went and he almost ran into Hermione and surprisingly Ron. Turns out they were looking for him since he hadn't shown up for dinner. Kill, must kill. Do you hear that? Asked Harry. Hermione and Ron didn't hear anything. Suddenly Harry ran down the hall and into a flooded area of the corridor and found Filch's cat, Mrs. Norris, hanging from one of the lanterns. She was almost like stone. Next to her, written in blood, were the words, "The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the air beware." Ron thought they should get out of there, but it was too late as a group of students were heading their way from dinner. Filch showed up and was about to attack Harry for killing his cat when Dumbledore and some of the other professors showed up. Dumbledore sent the students to bed except for Harry. Ron and Hermione then told them that Mrs. Norris was only petrified and that she'd be able to be revived once Professors Sprout and Snape were able to make the Mandrake draft. Professor Lockhart tried to say that he knew a counterspell that would have saved Mrs. Norris, but everyone tuned him out. Harry went straight to his bed and called his dad on the mirror. "Someone's opened the Chamber of Secrets here at Hogwarts," said Harry. "Are you sure?" "I thought," asked James. "There was a message in blood on the wall and Filch's cat was petrified," said Harry. "Then it couldn't be the basilisk." "Basilisks don't petrify," said James. "I still don't understand why Dumbledore was against taking care of the basilisk when we took care of the Horcruxes," said Harry. "A basilisk is very hard to kill. Rumors are that the crowing of a rooster will kill a basilisk, but they are just rumors as no one has even seen a basilisk in years," said James. I could control the basilisk, said Harry. Harry, you're not to go into the chamber, said James. But, Dad, started Harry. Do I have to tell your mother to come talk to you? Asked James. No, I won't go into the chamber, said Harry. I'll talk to Dumbledore tomorrow. I love you, said James. Love you, Dad, said Harry. After closing the connection with his dad, Harry called Jamie. Jamie, are you awake? Asked Harry. Do you think I'd go to sleep without talking to you? What's wrong? Asked Jamie as she noticed that Harry looked upset. Filch's cat was petrified today and he thinks I had something to do with it, said Harry, knowing he couldn't tell Jamie the full truth. Surely the professors know you didn't do anything, said Jamie. Dumbledore doesn't think I did anything, said Harry. What are you keeping from me? I can tell there's more going on than you're telling me, said Jamie. I'm sorry, Jamie, but I'm not allowed to tell you. I really wish I could, said Harry. I hate that you're keeping things from me. Do you not trust me? Asked Jamie with tears in her eyes. Harry was stopped from replying by hearing Sirius tell Jamie that she needed to go to bed. We're not done with this conversation. Good night, Harry, said Jamie before closing the connection before he could tell her good night. Harry was about to go to sleep as well when he heard the mirror chime. He opened the connection and saw that it was Jamie. I love you, said Jamie. I love you too, Jamie. If you can keep it down so that we don't get caught, I'll tell you everything, said Harry. Harry proceeded to tell Jamie everything about having Voldemort's memories to the Horcruxes and that he knew that it was the basilisk in the Chamber of Secrets that somehow petrified Mrs. Norris. You want to go down to the chamber, don't you? Asked Jamie. I do. It's the only way to make sure something like this doesn't happen again, said Harry. I won't be like your dad and tell you not to go down to the chamber, but I will tell you not to get caught, said Jamie. Harry promised that he wouldn't get caught and that he'd be careful before saying goodnight and closing the connection with Jamie. TFTL. Harry lied in his bed for a few hours until he was sure that his roommates were all deep asleep before getting up and headed to the second-floor girls' bathroom. He wished he'd had his father's invisibility cloak because there in front of the sinks was Albus Dumbledore. It's about time you showed up, Harry, said Dumbledore. Professor, I started Harry. You were going to disregard your father's wishes and go down into the chamber. I have a message to convey to you from him, said Dumbledore. What's the message? Asked Harry. He says, and I quote, you must have a pair, son. Your mother is looking forward to coming in the morning and cutting them off, said Dumbledore. I won't stand around and do nothing while the basilisk can attack everyone in this castle, said Harry. I agree with you, but you going alone is not an option. We will go tomorrow morning with your mother and father to take care of the basilisk. Newt Scamander assures me that a rooster's crow will kill the basilisk, although he tried to convince me to spare the poor creature. Now you should get to bed. We have a busy morning tomorrow, said Dumbledore. Harry turned to leave the bathroom, but then turned back to Dumbledore. Sir, is there any way you could possibly protect me from my mother? Asked Harry. I learned long ago to never get in the way of Lily Potter. Although she was an Evans then, said Dumbledore. Sunday, the 1st of November, 1992. Harry awoke to a weight on his bed. He turned towards the intruder and saw his mother. Give me one good reason not to cut off your bollocks, said Lily. Because if you do that then Jamie and I won't be able to give you any grandchildren, said Harry. Wait till you do have a child and he acts like you did last night. Do you know how close I was to coming here last night? Asked Lily. I know, Mum, and I'm sorry, but... started Harry. No buts, Harry. There's I'm sorry and that's it. You need to learn that there are things that are supposed to be handled by adults. Not you, said Lily. I can do everything an adult wizard can do and more, said Harry. Perhaps. Well, get up. You are going to open the chamber for us, but you are not going to face the basilisk, said Lily. But, Mum, said Harry. Understood? Asked Lily. I understand, said Harry. Harry went into the bathroom and changed into his robes, then he and Lily went downstairs where James was waiting. So are you still intact? Asked James with a laugh. Harry mumbled something unintelligible on his way out of the common room. TFTL. Harry, Lily and James met Dumbledore in the second-floor girls' bathroom and Harry hissed at the snake on one of the sinks opening the chamber. After making the stairs appear, he told them that there was one more door that he'd have to open for them. The four of them walked through the piles of rodent bones and snake skins and made it to the door to the chamber. Harry opened it and was told to wait outside. Harry watched them go in and then remembered that there was another door that needed to be opened for the basilisk to come out. Harry ran inside to catch up with them. "Mum, Dad. There's one more door to open." "Speak to me, Slytherin, greatest of the Hogwarts Four," said Harry, and the mouth of Slytherin's statue opened up and the giant snake slithered out. "Everyone close your eyes," yelled Dumbledore. Everyone did so, and Dumbledore made the rooster he brought with him crow. They heard the basilisk scream and then heard a thud. When they opened their eyes they saw that the basilisk was dead on the ground. "We'll have to bring Severus down here to harvest the usable parts of the basilisk," said Dumbledore. The four of them left the chamber with Harry thinking. The only way someone could have released the basilisk was if they were a Parseltongue. The only question was, which student was it? Chapter 14, The Diary. After the basilisk was dealt with, things went back to normal. Lily made Harry promise that he'd stay out of trouble, while James said they'd be back to see his first Quidditch match of the year. Later that night he found out that Jamie would be coming with them as well. The day of the Quidditch match came, and despite the brooms that Lucius Malfoy bought the Slytherins, Harry was able to grab the snitch, ensuring a Gryffindor win. Unfortunately, after the catch, Marcus Flint hit a bludger at Harry, breaking his arm. Harry managed to land his broom one-handed. Professor Lockhart reached him first and accidentally vanished the bones in his arm before his family could get to him. The look on the professor's face was priceless when Jamie slammed her knee into his groin for hurting her Harry. Harry ended up having to spend the night in the hospital wing. As he was trying to get to sleep, Dumbledore, Professor McGonagall and Madame Pomfrey came in, levitating Colin Creevey into a bed. He looked like he was frozen in the middle of taking a picture. Dumbledore opened the camera to get the film out and the camera burst into flame. Harry thought he saw a shadow of someone run off, but discounted it as none of the professors saw or heard anything. "Mr. Potter, you should be sleeping," said Dumbledore when he noticed that Harry was awake. "What happened to Colin?" asked Harry. "He's been petrified." "We have no idea how or by who," said Dumbledore. "But we took care of the basilisk." "This shouldn't have happened," said Harry. "We were never certain that the basilisk was responsible for petrifying Mrs. Norris," said Dumbledore. "You're right, but I still think it was the basilisk that did it." "This is something or someone else," said Harry. "Try and get some rest, Harry." "I'm sure we'll figure out what's going on," said Dumbledore. Harry laid back down after looking at Colin. Who would want to harm the first-year boy, thought Harry. TFTL. Word of what happened to Colin spread through the castle like fiend fire. Soon there were signs up in all the common rooms that a dueling club was starting. The first day of the club, everyone was wondering who would be teaching them. Professor Flitwick had been a champion in the dueling circuit, and while he was the potions professor, Professor Snape was said to know a few things about dueling as well. When it was finally revealed who would be teaching, Harry wanted to leave, but Hermione reminded him that this first meeting was required. "Professor Dumbledore has taken my recommendation and allowed me to start this little club so that you all can learn how to defend yourselves from the dangers that are in these very walls," said Professor Lockhart. He continued to drone on about how he managed to defend himself several times before asking Professor Snape to join him on the platform. Professor Snape looked murderous as Professor Lockhart explained that they were going to try and disarm one another. The two professors stood back to back and paced to their spots, and on the count of 3 raised their wands. "Expelliarmus," said Professor Snape. A burst of energy came out of Professor Snape's wand and slammed into Professor Lockhart, knocking him on his ass as his wand flew in the air to be caught by Professor Snape. Professor Lockhart got up slowly and said, "Well done, Professor Snape, but if you don't mind me saying so, it was pretty obvious what you were going to do, and if I had wanted to stop you I could have. I just wanted to show the students what would happen if I was hit, and as everyone can see I lost my wand. Perhaps it would be best to first teach them how to block unfriendly spells and curses," said Professor Snape while tossing the wand back to Professor Lockhart. "An excellent idea, Professor Snape, but for this demonstration let's have a volunteer pair." "Potter," Weasley said Professor Lockhart. "Might I make a suggestion that we have Potter face one of my Slytherins?" "Malfoy perhaps," asked Professor Snape. Very well, said Professor Lockhart. Harry and Draco got up on the platform and, like Professor Snape and Lockhart, stood back to back and paced to their positions before drawing their wands. On the count of 3 I want you to cast your charms to disarm. Only to disarm, said Professor Lockhart. Harry was listening to Professor Lockhart, but knew Malfoy was going to go early. Avert statum, yelled Draco on 2. Protego, Expelliarmus, said Harry, stopping Malfoy's spell and sending one back. Harry's disarming charm hit Malfoy and his wand went flying into the air for Harry to catch. Harry then tossed the wand back to Draco and was about to get off the platform when Draco yelled, "Serpent Sorcerer!" A giant snake burst out of Malfoy's wand and started slithering towards Harry. "Don't move, Potter. I'll take care of it," said Professor Snape. "Allow me, Professor Snape." "Alert Ascender," said Professor Lockhart, causing the snake to go high in the air and land back down on the platform with a thud. The snake forgot its purpose to attack Harry and turned on one of the students closest to it. "Stop," said Harry in Parseltongue. "Why should I?" asked the snake. "I won't let you harm anyone," said Harry before saying the spell, Vipera Evanesca. The snake burst into flame and disintegrated. "What are you playing at, Potter?" asked the boy who the snake almost attacked. "If I hadn't distracted the snake it would have bit you, Justin," said Harry. "You told it to attack me," said Justin. "Of course I didn't," said Harry, but he could see that people were staring at him in an odd way. "Everyone's dismissed," said Professor Lockhart. Professor Lockhart took Harry to Dumbledore's office and told him what had happened. Dumbledore dismissed Professor Lockhart and told Harry to sit down. "Lemon drop?" asked Dumbledore after a few moments of silence. "Sir, I didn't sick that snake on Justin," said Harry. "I know you didn't, Harry, but you have to understand the fear of that ability. As you well know, Voldemort was the last known Parselmouth," said Dumbledore. "And that automatically makes me evil?" asked Harry. "No, my dear boy, it does not," said Dumbledore. "Tell that to the rest of the students," said Harry. "Harry, you know as well as I do that they will believe whatever they want to believe, and you and I cannot make them change their minds," said Dumbledore. Harry didn't like it, but knew that Dumbledore was right. After saying goodbye he left Dumbledore's office and headed to the Great Hall for lunch. Everyone whispered as he walked by them, and those that were already at lunch stared at him as he sat down at the Gryffindor table. He started filling his plate as the whispers started. Even at the Gryffindor table there were glances in his direction and whispers about him. Harry finished his lunch and went to his dorm and called Jamie. "Harry, what's wrong?" asked Jamie when she saw the look on his face. "Everyone found out about me being a Parselmouth and now they all think I'm the heir of Slytherin. Also there was another attack. Colin Creevey. Remember the boy who kept wanting to take my picture at the last Quidditch game?" said Harry. "But if the basilisk is dead, how are the attacks still happening?" asked Jamie. "I don't know. I could have been wrong that it was the basilisk," said Harry. "Don't beat yourself up about it, Harry. They'll figure out who's doing this," said Jamie. "Well, I'm going to go down to the common room. Maybe I can beat Ron at a game of chess finally," said Harry. "Okay. I love you," said Jamie. "I love you too," said Harry before closing the connection. Harry put the mirror in his drawer and headed downstairs. As he was walking to one of the couches he bumped into someone knocking her stuff all on the floor. "I'm sorry, Ginny." "Here, let me help you," said Harry. Harry picked up some of the books that had been dropped and froze when he saw a worn black book. Harry had found the diary. Chapter 15, Ginny. It had been over a week and Harry still hadn't figured out a way to get the diary from Ginny. He considered straight out attacking her, but even at the age of 16, Tom Riddle was an exceptional wizard, so while possessed, Ginny would be a dangerous opponent and he might have to really hurt her to beat her. Harry didn't want to take too long though, because if Ginny kept pouring herself into the diary then Tom would be able to permanently take over her body. TFTL. The Yule holidays came and Harry, against his better judgment, left the castle to be with his family. As he got off the train, Jamie ran into him like a bullet and gave him a hug and a kiss. After the kiss they met James and Lily. "Where's Iris and Ivy?" asked Harry. "They're with Sirius. They said that you never want to see them anyway," said Lily. Harry decided that he needed to spend more time with his sisters over the holidays. James took Harry and Lily took Jamie and the four of them apparated to Potter Manor. Harry told Jamie he'd see her in a little bit and that he needed to speak to his dad. She said she'd see him in his room. "Dad, I have a problem I don't know what to do about," said Harry. "Does this have to do with the Chamber of Secrets?" asked James. "How did you know?" asked Harry. "Dumbledore let us know that you went and took care of the basilisk," said James. "Well, the basilisk was only part of it. Ginny Weasley has the diary," said Harry. "The diary that is one of Voldemort's Horcruxes?" asked James. "Yes. The problem is that if I confront Ginny about the diary she could get hurt. It's the same if I go to Dumbledore and he tries to take the diary from Ginny," said Harry. "Why would she get hurt?" asked James, and Harry explained about how the diary is possessing Ginny. "It sounds like you have no choice. If you do nothing, then Ginny will become a very dangerous person. We should do this while there aren't that many students in the castle. Let me tell your mother and we'll contact Dumbledore and go from there," said James. While James talked to Lily and contacted Dumbledore, Harry went and told Jamie that they were going to be going back to Hogwarts and that she should go home. Jamie wasn't too happy, but understood. After Jamie left through the flue, Harry went to the dining room and saw that Dumbledore was already there and Lily was yelling at him. "This is ridiculous. You want my 12-year-old son to confront what is essentially Voldemort as a 16-year-old. You know what Harry is capable of." "There'd be no danger," said Dumbledore. "I wouldn't say that. Tom Riddle already knew a lot of dangerous spells at 16, but unless Ginny gets in a good shot, I shouldn't have a problem," said Harry. "Do we even get a say about this?" asked Lily. "Mum, would you rather Ginny be taken over?" asked Harry. "Of course not, but I don't want you in danger all the time either," said Lily. "He'll be fine," Lil said James. Dumbledore apparated Harry to his office. He disillusioned himself and followed Harry to Gryffindor Tower. The common room was almost empty, but the person they were looking for was on the couch by the fire. "Ginny, may I speak to you?" asked Harry. "What do you want, Potter?" asked Ginny, not sounding like herself. "I need you to give me your diary," said Harry, looking at the book she was writing in. Ginny moved and he saw that she already had her wand in her hand. "Avada Kedavra," yelled Ginny. Harry leapt to the side and the sickly green spell flew past him. He heard a body drop to the ground and turned and saw Dumbledore. He was dead. Ginny started to say another killing curse. He let his anger overcome him and he waved his hand and sent a burst of magic that sent Ginny flying into the wall, knocking her unconscious. Harry went over and picked up the diary and cast a controlled fiend fear at it, destroying it completely. A ghostly scream came out of Ginny's unconscious body. Harry walked over to Dumbledore and started crying. After he got himself together he left Gryffindor Tower and found Professor McGonagall in her office. "Why are you here, Mr. Potter?" asked Professor McGonagall. "Professor Dumbledore brought me here. I need to contact my parents and then I need you to come with me to Gryffindor Tower," said Harry. "What is going on, Mr. Potter?" asked Professor McGonagall. "I promise you'll be told everything, Professor," said Harry. Professor McGonagall let Harry use her flue to call his parents, and after telling them to get to Hogwarts, he and Professor McGonagall went to the Gryffindor common room. There was a crowd of students around Dumbledore. Percy was trying to get them to make way while Ron and the twins were trying to wake Ginny. Professor McGonagall went straight to Professor Dumbledore. "What happened?" asked Professor McGonagall. "Ginny was possessed and cast the killing curse at me. I dodged it and it hit Dumbledore," said Harry. "How was Miss Weasley possessed?" asked Professor McGonagall. Harry explained to her about the diary, leaving out the parts about it being a Horcrux. He also told her about Dumbledore's plan to confront Ginny. "He should have gotten us professors to help," said Professor McGonagall as James and Lily entered the common room. "What happened?" asked Lily. Harry repeated what happened again. "I knew something like this might happen, but the old fool wouldn't ever listen," said Lily. Professor McGonagall called a house elf and had Dumbledore and Ginny taken to the hospital wing. She then had Lily, James and Harry follow her to her office. She called Mr. and Mrs. Weasley and had them come through her flue. Lily and James, with Harry's help, did their best to tell Arthur and Molly what had happened to Ginny. They weren't too happy that Harry had hurt Ginny, but they understood why. After Molly and Arthur left for the hospital wing, Professor McGonagall let James, Lily and Harry flew home. She told them that if the Urras had any questions she would send them to Potter Manor. After cleaning the soot off their clothes, the three Potters went into the sitting room. Lily was holding Harry as he started crying again. "It's okay, love," said Lily. "But, Dumbledore," started Harry. Dumbledore knew the danger involved. "His death isn't your fault," said James. "He'd still be alive if it weren't for me," said Harry. James and Lily continued to tell him that he wasn't to blame and that everything would be okay. Harry announced that he was going to go to bed when there was a ding from the fireplace and a head appeared in the flames. "Lord Potter, may I come through?" asked the Urra. "Enough with the Lord bullshit, Kingsley. Get your ass in here," said James. "Language," James scolded Lily. Kingsley stepped through the fireplace and after brushing some soot from his robes, sat down on one of the couches. "I need to get Harry's statement about what happened at Hogwarts," said Kingsley. Harry told Kingsley the story of what happened, leaving out the part about the Horcrux. "Did Dumbledore know what could have caused the diary to be able to possess Ginny Weasley?" asked Kingsley. "Yes, but I'm not allowed to speak about it," said Harry as Kingsley took notes. "Is Ginny going to be in trouble?" "No. Madame Pomfrey was able to confirm that Ginny was possessed, so there will be no charges brought against her," said Kingsley. "That's good," said Harry. Kingsley thanked Harry for his statement. "If there's anything else you can think of to tell me, contact me at the Ministry," said Kingsley. Kingsley then said his goodbyes to James and Lily before leaving through the flue. Lily looked like she wanted to say something, but Harry stopped her. "Can Jamie come over and spend the night?" asked Harry. Lily didn't think that was appropriate, but James said that would be okay. Harry called Jamie with his mirror and after a few minutes she stepped out of the fireplace. Harry pulled Jamie into a hug and then took her hand and led her upstairs. James stopped Lily from saying anything. Once Harry and Jamie were in his room, Jamie sat down on his bed. Harry laid down with his head on her lap and cried. "What's wrong?" asked Jamie. "Dumbledore's dead," said Harry before going into the story again. Jamie listened to the story while rubbing Harry's back. "I'm so sorry, Harry. You know it's not your fault," said Jamie. "I know, but I could've," started Harry. "Harry, don't. Thinking about what could have happened will only make you feel worse," said Jamie. Harry cried some more, then sat up and leaned in and kissed Jamie. Jamie deepened the kiss as they ran their hands up and down each other's bodies. TFTL. Hours went by and Harry and Jamie didn't come down to dinner. James tried to stop Lily from going upstairs, but she wouldn't be stopped. She made it to Harry's bedroom door and opened up the door. Laying in bed asleep were Harry and Jamie. Thankfully they were fully clothed so Lily didn't wake them, but she was determined to have a talk with Harry in the morning.